And we are live. Okay, so thank you guys. Welcome to live. This is the 2032 presidential election between Democratic candidate Andy Beshear. I am just realized I'm on the wrong one. The 2032 presidential election with Andy Beshear versus Republican nominee John Stople with Vice President how do you say this woman's name? Jesus. Kamala Harris, yeah, I think Kamala Harris for the Forward Party and MetalCrusader for the Libertarian Party. So that is who we're running up again. This is what this election is all about. You want to introduce yourself, Sheldon?
Yeah, hi, I'm Lee Zeldin. I was from the last live stream. I was a presidential candidate, a House Speaker candidate, a chair candidate for the Republicans, and now I'm a VP, so I'm hoping for John Stope to win. And if you look at the polls, we are projected to win in a landslide. So, let's project.
So let's see. Since you mentioned the polls, so let's take a look at the polls. Let's see what the polls are saying, because I know you mentioned all about the polls. So let's go take a look. Let's see what the polling type is saying. All right.
It could have changed last time I checked. I don't know.
Well, it hasn't really changed that much. I don't know if Leo did the general election polling, but we did have John Stople ahead a little bit. Let's see. Can we see the 2032 presidential polling? I know there wasn't too much data because this was an event that has been wrapped pretty quickly. It has ended pretty quick. At first, when TNM was polling, it had 44 for Beshear back on December 11th. Fast forward to the end of the month, it had Stople at 50, Beshear at 30%. When it comes to the event poll, it's a lot more closer, but nonetheless, it does show indication that Stople is ahead in the poll. Since you are the vice presidential nominee for the Republican ticket for the vice president, do you go out and vote in this election, or do you decide to stay home?
Well, I was very busy yesterday, and I was in my weekend home because I usually go into the weekend, and I forgot to bring my laptop where my Discord is, and I couldn't have voted, and I was very sad because I forgot because I was in a wash yesterday, so I couldn't have bought my laptop. I bought my phone, which I didn't have Discord on, and my Oculus, which meant I couldn't vote. Which I wanted to vote, but I didn't bring the device.
And do you believe that, because of your vote, particularly because every vote matters in every presidential election, this election being no different, do you think that you're not going out and vote? Do you think that was alter the outcome of this race, or do you think it will be big enough for either candidate that your vote does not matter?
Look, there's a lot of people in the Stople, and yes, lots of vote matters, but I think my vote is not one of the. By the time that almost everyone voted, like if you vote like last minute, you vote didn't really matter. But I think my vote kinda matters. But I still think John will still win this election.
And if so, how much?
Well, a lot of them projected a landslide, and that's the best case. I don't know if a will 444 electorate vote against 94 would happen. That would be kind of
see what the forecast has been saying over the past couple of
I want to see
weeks.
TNN's forecast. I was talking about that.
Forecast. This is TNN's forecast. We're going to pull it up right now. This is kind of a combination of all the polls. This is the final forecast for both Leo Paradox and TNN, combining the polls together to come up with this specific type of map. However, when it comes to the TNN polling, we're going to take a look and see what the historical significance was and how the map changed over time, along with the popular vote for each respective party. So you can kind of see here, this is the TNN polling map. You can kind of see where all the TNN forecast is going, where it projects confidently that if the race was to go this specific way with the matter in terms of the popular vote, on average, this is what we expect the electoral college map to look like. Basically, John Stople was spanned upon Donald Trump's electoral victory back in 2024 in real life. This is what we're expecting the map to look like. However, The purple states are considered toss-up, which means that in order for Andy Beshear to win any of those states, he essentially needs to either get the majority in those states, while the other blue states that are expected to go his way, he needs to perform similarly to Vice President Harris's margin in 2024 in order to even win those states. Whereas all the Republicans need to do is really just win by 2% or more than Donald Trump did back in 2024, and then they win this election, regardless if the Democratic candidate Andy Beshear sweeps the swing states. It does not matter. As long as the GOP overperformed national expectations by 2 points in the popular vote, that is all they need to win. They don't even need to win any of the toss-up seats on their map right now. That is how crazy this election is. It has flipped from one side to the other. Because when we go in and we start to look at this historical data for the Electoral College predictive forecast over time, you can kind of see for a while the Democrats have led, but have been consistently trending that the Democrats were going down and down, down, while the Republicans were on the upwards as well. So there was that clear trend. So if anything were to go in that specific matter, we're going to see on a larger scale whether or not that is continuing. A lot of Democrats, however, are hoping that, the turnout, because the turnout exactly in this election matches the election of 2028. I'm going to pull that election right up right now. So this is the presidential election between former President Rainbow Dash and Louis Amaya. And you can kind of see this is what the Electoral College map looks like, with 55.6% to 44.4%. Do you think that that popular vote margin is going to decrease between the candidates, especially with 2 third parties in the race for the first time since 2020? Or do you believe that it's going to be a blowout with a 10-point margin, like what we saw here with Rainbow Dash, where they swept majority of the states here? Do you think that this is the type of the map that we're going to see, that high turnout means high Democrat victory? Or do you think that that does not matter because third parties can have an effect on this election in a way that maybe the forecast is not picking up? What do you think?
I would think the idea of you thinking turnout, like the same turnout compared to that, what if some Democrats didn't vote and more Republicans vote? You can't really calculate that. You have to really look deep inside, okay, who actually voted. And you have to go through all the Dems and go to all the Republicans to see who would actually win. Which would, that would just kind of leak the entire election. But it basically, you can't really predict based on turnout. And yes, it had turnout from last time. But, what if Democrats didn't come out and all Republicans or Libertarians or this and this? High turnout in the third parties. That's another thing. You never know who's going on election day, on who they're going to pick. You can't go based off turnout. You have to wait and see. Sometimes polls are wrong, and sometimes predicting on how much votes was casted goes wrong too.
Right. I want to ask you as well, because when Leo Purdock polled American voters today, the exit polling, they asked voters who do they think will win the 2032 presidential election. And overwhelmingly, 57% of them have chosen Andy Beshear. It's supposed to be the expected presidential winner of tonight's election. They expect Andy Beshear to win, despite the forecast indicating that there's going to be a red wave or a red mirage. Do you believe that this is going to be more of a red mirage, or do you believe that actually the Republicans do have the edge, despite the popular consensus here that, hey, listen, the Democrats going to win? Do you think that John Stople is going to be able to make an upset, or you think the forecast is wrong, and that the way that the American people are feeling continuously, that they believe that 57% of them believe that Andy Beshear, the Democrat, is going to win this election, compared to only the Republican candidate at 20%, which is John Stople, which you are the vice presidential nominee running on that same ticket. We have Vice President Kamala Harris for the Forward Party at 17%, and MetalCrusader at 7% believe that he will win. So who do you think is going to be likely to, what kind of outcome do you think you're going to be expecting tonight? Do you think that the people on the way that people are voting with 30 votes here saying that, hey, listen, we think Andy Beshear is going to win this election? Or do you believe that the forecast is foretelling a trend that is going unnoticed by the popular? Do you think that we are moving towards the right, or do you think we are moving and staying towards the left? How do you view this?
I think this was still gonna be a very close election, man. It could turn out with the 312, or it could go very close and could be very, very close, like 2000. But you never know. Anything could happen. And a Democrat landslide could happen, a Republican landslide could happen, a small Democrat win and third party win somehow, and a small Republican win. You never know. High turnout
Right,
in the independents. Like one game was
right.
like 19% in 1992 happens again. You never
And I would
know.
like to ask you, because there's an outcome here, because people within these states like Oregon, Colorado, New Mexico, Minnesota, Illinois, Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, and New York, right? And even Maine as well. All of them are expected to go and vote and head to the poll. The polls have closed. We're waiting for our first batch of poll closing at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right now it is 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we are about 14 minutes out from the first batch of polls being released. However, we do want to mention here that, there's a high probability as well that the person in the national level could win the popular vote, but all the swing states can go in the opposite direction. For example, we might see a scenario where the Republicans sweep the swing states, but the Democrats sweep the national vote, and it's the whole country, besides the swing states, shift to the left, while the states and the swing states shift to the right. Do you think that there's an outcome similar to that, where swing states could be voting against the trend of the national vote, or you believe that that's going to remain consistent?
Look, I really think if a Republican is doing good in the national, they're most likely doing good in most of the swing states. Now, am I gonna say John's gonna win every single swing state? I'm not trying to say that, because getting 400 electoral votes is a hard task, you know. But I think a lot of conservative swing states we could see over there might go Republican, like Virginia, that could go Republican. Maybe New Mexico and New Jersey because swings and stuff, and
Shall we
Oregon.
put up the map where we can actually stay and give a hypothetical on what we think the map might look like based on how people might vote? Would you like to do that?
I'll just we can do one that the swing states and how I feel who's
Okay,
gonna
so
win the swing states.
have the map right here. So let's start with Oregon. How do you think voters would vote in the state of Oregon? Will they stay with Beshear, that have voted consistently for the Democratic candidate since the very beginning of the event back in 2020? Do you believe that Oregon tonight will still go blue?
Yeah, I think it's gonna go blue in a lean margin.
I think that like what's it called, like a third party like Harris might spoil to the point where the Republican is able to clinch the state, or you think it's still going to go blue tonight regardless of the third party support?
I think realistically the third party is kind of derailed from the beginning. Like they lost most of their support by the time election day came, so it's really they probably just gonna gain single digits. Maybe Harris gets like 10.
So we'll put this as tilt, because we want to make sure we remember what states are still highly competitive and can flip either direction. What about
Yeah.
Colorado with 10 electoral votes at stake? How do you think that state's going to go in particular? No Republican has ever won the state since the beginning. So how do you think the state's going to go tonight?
I really think it's also gonna stay Democrat. It's one of those states that's kind of hard for
Right.
Republicans.
So what about New Mexico with 5 electoral votes at stake? This is a state that also Republicans had not won.
I think Republicans could flip it based on trends and stuff and the
Okay,
population.
what trend are you using? Because according to the CNN polling, the last time that they polled the state of New Mexico, they actually found that New Mexico was trending to the Democratic Party. So we'll pull it up right now. Let's go to the individual state polling, and let's take a look at the New Mexico polling. So let's take a look. Okay, let's see. So according to New Mexico, according to CNN, the last time they polled this state, it leaned to the Democrats. Do you still believe that time had changed since then, or do you believe that what do you call it? The Republicans are now ahead in the state of New Mexico.
I'll say we'll actually go Dem because I was thinking of more about real life, but if you actually look on it, people look at those states and say, "Oh, those Democrat," and really don't think about it. So
Right.
they might.
Okay. So what about the state of Minnesota with 9 electoral votes at stake? If you go back to the TNN polling here, which I'll pull up on the screen, this is a state that has been more polled by TNN, so we want to pull it up right now. I think it's actually in the swing state polling data. We'll put that in. I believe it's in the swing state, but I might be wrong here. Can I have a feeling I might be? But let's take a look. So this is Minnesota. So Minnesota, as time went on, it went up to almost 80% support for the Democrats. But as you kind of see on the map here, you look here in this direction, you can kind of see the Republican support kind of ticked up a lot. It ticked up in the polling data, and TNN has rated the state as tilt Democrat. Do you think that there's a chance for the Republicans to overtake the state and actually win its 9 electoral votes? It will be the first time a Republican have won the state since Richard Nixon in 1976. No, Richard Nixon in 1974.
See, 76.
So here's the results. You can kind of see the polling data for reference.
The thing with Minnesota is it's literally one of those states that, like, really, it hasn't changed for a very long time. If you really think about it, Minnesota, really in the cities, pulls it. Majority of its votes is in the city. And the only way a Republican could really do it is they have to really do well in the city, kind of like New York. But Minnesota still can't be close, so I can put that in, like, to them. So it is correct.
Minnesota, do you believe that Minnesota will go to the Democrats? Okay, so let's take a look at Illinois. I don't think that Tina has polled this state, so we don't have any polling data out of Illinois, which is a surprise swing state nonetheless. How do you believe Illinois is going to go today, based with the 17 electoral votes?
It's kind of like Minnesota's issue and a lot of these big states that a lot of people goes Democrat. It's gonna go Democrat because you have mostly the one big city that has majority of the votes is a very safe Democrat, more safer than New York City. So if you really think about it, it would take more time for Illinois to go Republican than really New York because of Chicago.
Right. And so now let's take a look at Virginia. This is a state that TNN has polled. So we're going to take a look at the polling data for TNN. And let's see what are they saying for the state of Virginia. I think this is an individual state polling. Yeah, individual state polling here. We are going to go and show you the map first. You can kind of see. So actually, TNN actually has Virginia, the state of Virginia, as tilt Republican. They expect, if all trends continue, they are expecting Virginia with its 13 electoral votes to be awarded to the Republican candidate. You can kind of see the map here being trending towards the Republican. That's kind of like where the trend has been going. We're going to pull this map up just so you can see the results here. Again, Tina has polled this state only 2 times, but nonetheless, it has been very drastic. So on December 13th, when the state has polled this with a larger batch of voters, it has trended Democrat with 28.6% of the time. It has voted more to the Democrats. However, when it's a lower turnout, it has favored Republican with 66.7%, with a net spread of 33 percentage points. Do you believe that Virginia, if this is a low turnout election for the Democrats and higher turnout election for the Republicans, do you believe that Virginia tonight could flip? Because it is very obvious it is a bellwether because it swings drastically, extremely in 2 different directions.
Listen, Virginia is one of those southern states which they are pretty much, I really think, will go Republican in this season because it really gets competitive in a lot of real life elections, and also you look in a lot of elections in general. Virginia goes Democrat, but it's still very close. And if Democrats have low turnout, we can obviously in real life see in 2024 it went wide, heavily wide, like the same nation. So I really think it will go Republican too because most likely the entire South is going to probably go to the Republicans.
We
So
do have we got a message recently from Political Junkie, and he is saying right now on Discord that he believes that Virginia is going to hold for Beshear. Do you agree or disagree?
I just think it will go Republican because it's going to probably be very close. But like that big as a shift, that big shift from
So
Democrat
you're
to
saying
Republican.
that you're saying that John Stople will be the first one to win the state of Virginia and flip it from the Democratic column since 2004.
It's very possible, but it might not happen. It has a very close anywhere could happen. It's one of those states that I don't know. I just feel like it could go Republican, but also can go Democrats, which is one of those states
Right.
that's
So
hard to predict.
let's go to Rhode Island. This is a state again that has not been polled. Actually, no, it has actually been polled. It has been polled. Let's go and take a look. I don't know if I have the state up though, but I do have the data. But if not,
Leo says only results out of Dixville, Notch, New Hampshire. That small city.
New Hampshire. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the first batch of polling. Let's see. We have so 66.7% right now are favoring Andy Beshear, and 33.3% is favoring John Stople out of the state of New Hampshire right now. What do you think this might be indicating for us in the state of New Hampshire? Does this foretell how competitive the election is going to be going forward? Do you think the trend that we're seeing right now with the 6 votes that are in out of Knoxville, New Hampshire, is going to be foretelling who's going to become the nominee, well, who's going to be president-elect tonight? I think we're going to probably end up calling the president. Do you think that we're going to be able to know who the next president of the United States is going to be?
Yeah, but not at the moment. I really think Dixville is really that one county that is very Democrat. It's a very small neighborhood, and most of the population is Democrat, if you really see in voting. And realistically, it really doesn't matter as much as people think. It's one town. It doesn't really do anything important. We really should start waiting until swing states, because trying to predict the election like immediately the full results.
In 2020, all 6 voters out of Knoxville, New Hampshire, back in 2020 in real life, had voted to the Democrats, right? That indicated Joe Biden was going to win that election. However, in 2024, in real life, with Donald Trump versus Vice President Harris, Knoxville, New Hampshire has now shown that it was highly competitive, 3-3 voting for Harris and for Donald Trump in Knoxville, New Hampshire. Tonight, we're seeing a scenario where it is mildly competitive, but not 100% competitive, because we have Andy Beshear here right now at 4-2. Do you think that might be indicating that this election could be tilting toward the Democrats, but it won't be a blowout like what we saw back in 2028 and 2024? Like this election is going to be a lot closer for the Republican, and the Republicans might be able to hang on. Again, we do have third parties in the vote here. We don't know exactly how the votes and how people are going to vote when it comes to third parties on the ballot. We've never had a third party on the ballot since 2020. And the last time that happened, let's go and take a look and see what the results are back in 2020, because that's the only election really in the survey where we actually saw major third parties run. We actually on average, we had roughly around 9 third party runs, and only one seemed to get above the 5% threshold. Right, and that was Abraham Lincoln from the National Union Party from the state of Kentucky, and he got 24.5% of the popular vote and 58 electoral votes. Right, so that is where his popular vote is. Of course, the candidate Democrat Christopher Oliva, Democrat here, has won. This is his first election night, but you can kind of see how this election is going, if you know what I mean. So, based on third party support in 2020 compared to now, what do you think we're going to be expecting tonight?
I don't know. I think it's still going to be close, even with that slim, those 2 votes for John and 4 votes for Andy, because realistically, it's one town compared to the rest of the nation. Really, if you take away those 6 people, there's still thousands and thousands of people to be counted. So you never know what happens, okay? Maybe New Hampshire goes Democrat, but what about the entire nation? It's just one town in New Hampshire. You never know. And that's the real thing about it. And also, by the way, Shamrock is in the chat, by the way, and he asked
Oh
you
yes,
to
I
join
know.
us.
I know. She's being good, so as long as she's being good, I'll allow it. As long as she's not trolling or whatever, she's allowed. You know. What's it called? So at least more people, the better. You know, the more interaction we get, the better. So speaking on this now, we can kind of see here that Vice President, Kamala Harris, excuse me, for the Forward Party and MetalCrusader for the Libertarian Party got 0 votes out of Knoxville, New Hampshire. What do you think that this might be indicating for third party? Third parties might not even make a dent in this election. Do you think that this is truly a two-way race?
Really, I really think Dixville really doesn't vote third party. I don't know. It's been a while. If you could, in the past elections, majority of the votes went to the main parties, if I'm correct, in real life. And I think realistically, it's been a long time since they really voted for independent parties. So I really think they only vote main parties. So it doesn't really, mean anything for the third parties. And by the way, the house map is updated. By the way.
Okay, so speaking on this, let's go back to our predictive map, at least for your predictive map. Let's go into the state of New York. Okay, this is a hotly contested state back in 2020. Hold on. In 2022, right? Kathy Hochul versus Lee Delden, which you are right here, because you obviously lost that governor's race. However, you are now running to be John Staple's vice president for the Republican ticket. That state was very close in what's it called? Back in 2022. Now you seem to be being on a ticket. You seem to have made the state of New York once again competitive in 2032. What do you think the result is going to be tonight in the state of New York with 25 electoral votes at stake? The last time it has voted against the Democrats was back in 2020. It has voted actually not for the Republican, not for the Democrat. It has voted for a third party. Right? New York has voted for a third party. So New York alone had the consistency to vote with a third party, right? So New York has awarded electoral votes back in 2020 to Abraham Lincoln. Do you think that there's a scenario here tonight where we might see an outcome where New York actually might award their electoral votes to the third party candidate?
Realistically, New York's gonna be close, or most likely it'll be like maybe 2022. But if you could look at polls, it could go really any way. I don't think independents could win it though, because polls really don't show them. It shows them actually defunking in the polls.
Right. And so, speaking on all this, let's go take a look at the polling data in New York. I think the polling data in New York is very important. I actually think it was actually pretty interesting, actually, nonetheless. So let's go take a look in the state of New York and see what the hell is going on in New York. New York right now, we actually have this at the polling data. The Democrats have consistently led in polling in the state of New York with 25 electoral votes. But then there's this little outlier here when there's lower turnout, it trends heavily towards the Republican side here, right? But when it's a little bit higher turnout, it trends more to the Democrats, but yet it's still only at 50%. What do you think we're going to be getting out of tonight in the state of New York? I'll pull up and show you the graph in the state of New York right now, so you can kind of see the results. You can kind of see the Democrats led, and then the Republicans just shot up towards the end of the polling. T9 has forecasted that the state of New York is tilt Republican. Do you agree or disagree?
I think I agree, but it would be super, super close. I mean, very close, because New York, their problem is New York City. And the only way to realistically win is do very well in the city and basically do as well as Republicans do in upstate. So you can't make any losers in upstate, and you have to gain from a lot of moderate Democrats and conservative Democrats in New York City, and you need high turnout in a lot of them.
And do you think that, if that's the case, if just say you're winning the state of New York, but you're losing other swing states, do you think that you guys might be able to run up the margin in terms of the popular vote and just might be the one who wins the popular vote but loses the electoral college? Or you think that that's not going to be an outcome that we're going to see tonight where the Republicans win the popular vote but lose the electoral college?
Anything could realistically happen. We never know, okay? So I realistically hope we could win the election in general and even win the popular vote. If we do well in a lot of the big cities, we could realistically win the popular vote. If we do well in a lot of competitive big cities, we could really win the popular vote.
Right. Right. No, I agree with you. So how would you rate the state of New York?
Tilt Republican, but if you do by popular vote in the state, it would be super close.
Okay, so you would tilt New York towards the Republicans. Okay, that's interesting.
How's
So you're
everyone
saying
doing?
what?
How's everyone doing? It's been a while since I've been in like the Leo stuff.
Yes,
So
we're doing very good. Thank you.
has the polls changed since I've been out?
Can I do this one? Basically, it went super Democrat, and then that was because Amy got out, and then it went middle. Democrats was winning Texas and Florida. Louisiana was super close, and then it flipped
Yeah, so
back to the Republicans and went super
let's show them the
Republican.
forecast. Kind of show the history of the forecast. So you have to view the forecast over time. So we can kind of see the data here. So this is the set results from 2024. And as we start to scroll down, you can kind of see the swing states start to take hold. And you start to see the map shifting. And the map is shifting. And then, you see Georgia and North Carolina become toss-up. And then we have 2032. It starts to become very similar to the map that we're normalized.
So
All of a sudden, out of the blue, we had the southern part of the United States become toss-up, like Texas, Arizona, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina.
Stope won the Republican nomination. And who's Andy Beshear? Is that Theodore Roosevelt?
No, Andy Beshear is Theodore or Teddy Roosevelt, the one who played Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, I think I endorsed Owen after I got banned. And he didn't accept my endorsement or something.
Yes,
or was that for I think that was
I think that was someone else. I don't know. I just ejected a lot of people because there was a lot of controversial people who tried to endorse me.
Yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. Like, I completely admit I had done like a lot of bad stuff during my time in the server, and I own up to that. But I was kind of appalled and honestly shocked by the stuff that like Nancy Reagan was doing.
Well, it turned out that stuff in Nancy Reagan was not real. So
stuff in Nancy Reagan was real. There was an entire group chat pretty much in it with white gold.
So we're not going to talk about that in this live stream because this is a 2032 presidential live watch party. So we're going to kind of stay away from the drama of the server unless it's necessary to talk about why. What's it called? The former Republican.
I think this has been like extremely interesting. Like from what I was, everything was like in the air, like 24/7. Like at first it was me and Dash, then it was me and Higgins, then it was me and Eleanor and Evander, then it was me and I think it was Paige, and then it was Nancy and Reed.
It changed to Amy.
Reed and Stope, and then it was Stope and now it's Stope and Beshear. This has been a very, very interesting election, no doubt.
I'm surprisingly VP, and I'm very happy now.
So it looks like right now we can't call a state so far.
Check the house.
So,
Anything in the house?
yeah, we forgot to talk about the other races. So let's just
Wait,
say in
who
a hypothetical
Who became speaker
Uh,
after?
okay, so we got some results out of the House of Representatives. There's no map. Wait, hold on. I think that might not actually be legit because it says here Dero congressional district called. So I
I
don't
think
think
that's
he
votes.
actually,
That's votes. That's votes. See, that's
what?
votes. So anytime the presidential votes, they will just. Leo will just import those votes into Dale, and then I think the end he'll calculate it by Congress districts, and then just put the districts. So
Yeah.
we
So
probably
actually,
won't know that for
let's
later.
pull up the district map. Okay, I don't have the district map. So, but anyway, we have the district map, and according to the district map, we have electoral votes based on every 5 states. Oh, I was going to say we didn't win. Okay, so
Can
oh,
you show
hold on, we got
Shimmer the Republican primary?
Hold on. We got a bunch of states to call. We are not going to make a projection out of the state of Indiana has gone to John Stople. We can also make a projection out of the state of Kentucky has also gone to John Stople. And we can also now make a projection out of the state of West Virginia has also gone to John Stople. However, out of the state of Vermont, it has gone to Andy Beshear. This is the first win of the night for Andy Beshear. So Andy Beshear has won the state of Vermont. However, John Stople, the Republican, is currently ahead right now in the popular vote with 44.3% of the vote to 40.1% of the popular vote right now for Andy Beshear. It is very close. However, John Stople is currently ahead in the popular vote very narrowly. However, Kamala Harris for the forward party has gained 12% of the vote right now. If this continues into the night, we can definitely see a scenario where Kamala Harris could end up playing spoiler in this election. However, MetalCrusader is not alone in that. He himself has taken 3.6% of the vote so far out of the 4 states that have been called already by the Leo Associated Press. So we are going to go and take a look at the popular vote and let's analyze it and compare it to past presidential election results. So out of the state of Indiana, with its 11 electoral votes as sake, John Stople has actually narrowly won the state of Indiana with his 11 electoral votes. That is very close for a state. Indiana has almost went to Beshear. That's how close this election is. I hope that, Leo, if it's possible, if you can actually show the margins, just so it's easier for us to indicate and see whether or not a state has gone heavily in favor of one party or one candidate over another. So that might be helpful if you're able to do that. Again, it's up to you. But in the state of Indiana right now, 41.76% has gone to Beshear, the Democrat, and 41.95% has gone
Has
to
Leo
Republican.
changed it back to like the old electorate system, or is this like just national vote?
So this is actually a little bit different. This is actually my version. It's a combination of what we saw back in 2028. So, the popular vote. So Rainbow Dash got 55.6% and 44.4%. So the way it works now is we have swing states. So I'm going to show you what the map of the swing state map look like. So we have the purple here. So I want to show the purple on this screen right here. These purple states are considered tossed, which means you get to vote in those states. All right, and it's ranked choice voting. So to break the tie, so if no candidate reaches 50%, it goes to the second round, and the candidate with the least amount of votes or no votes gets eliminated, and it'll keep going until there is a candidate above the 50% threshold. That is how the toss-up states work. So that is what we're doing because it relies heavily on toss-up states to determine the election. The closer the election, the more power toss-up states have. The wider the gap in the popular vote, the less likely toss-up states have. So the way that we are able to determine whether a state is considered a toss-up and it categorized as a toss-up is we compile a whole bunch of polls from earlier polling, and we combine them, and we get the average, and we beat that off of the 2024 presidential election in real life, and we get to see, okay, so this is where the Democrats are at, this is where the Republicans are at, this is where the Independents are at, what states are considered toss-up, what states are not. So this is the toss-up map. These are the people who are actually able to vote in these states. Consistently, I've seen on TNN polling that not all of these states has gone the same way. It has trended more to the Republicans at times, while it had trended, the national popular vote had trended more to the Democrats. So it has indicated that, swing states and toss-up states don't necessarily trend in the same direction as the national poll the national popular vote, the same way that it does in real life. So we tried to mash it to be more similar to what you will see in real life. So I hope that was able to clarify your understand a little bit more. So let's go back and let's take a look in the state of Indiana. Let's compare this. But before we compare, let's take a look in the state of Kentucky. In the state of Kentucky, John Stople has only won the state of Kentucky with 49.1% to 37.3% to Andy Beshear out of the state of Kentucky. Now remember, he is the governor. He was the state incumbent governor out of the state of Kentucky. However, John Stople has only won Kentucky by 12 percentage points compared to only winning Indiana by 0.19%. If this is the way it's going, we're looking at a landslide similar to what you expect in 2008 because Obama was able to flip this state, and Beshear tonight almost flipped the state of Indiana. Last time Indiana was competitive in the server was actually back in 2020 when former President Christopher Oliva ran for his first term. Indiana was very close. It was practically a tie in this election here in 2032. It is highly competitive. So highly competitive. So again, this is an astounding victory for the Andy campaign, for the Beshear campaign. This is a very good night. However, out of the state of Vermont, Andy Beshear is winning that state by plus 50 percentage points. That is an astounding margin above where he needs to be in order to win the nomination. What is even more interesting and more striking is that John Stople only won 15.4% out of the state of Vermont with 3 electoral votes. 15% has gone to the Harris campaign. Only 3.5% has gone to the Libertarian candidate. Whereas in the state of West Virginia, John Stople has only won the state by 23 percentage points. He won this by 53.2% with 30.1% going to Andy Beshear, 13.1% going to Harris for the Forward Party, and 3.6% going to the Libertarian. So if tonight the polls have indicated consistently that Forward Party was hovering around the 13-15% range. This is exactly where Forward Party wants to be if they want to win a state tonight. So we're going to see whether or not Harris is going to win a state. As of right now, it looks like that could be a plausibility in the swing states only, but not a plausibility unless the Democrats and the Republicans drop down in terms of their margin and Harris is able to somehow take the lead in some of these states. We will see. However, we're going to compare this back to the data result in 2020 out of the state of Kentucky. For votes, the Republican, has won the state by 59.4%, and this is back in 2028. So now we're going to compare this to 2032. And out of the state of Kentucky here, John Stople has only won the state with 49.1. That's a reduction. Yeah, that is a reduction of almost 10 percentage points. That's a reduction of 10 points. So that means that we're expecting right now, if the popular vote is indicating anything, Andy Beshear is leading the popular vote by 10 percentage points. That's our estimated projection so far if the trend continue in the next couple of states. So in Vermont, actually Andy Beshear is underperforming the expectation of Rainbow Dash in the state of Vermont with 71.3%. She's underperforming by, let's take a look here. Let's take a look in 2032. She's underperforming by 6 percentage points in the state of Vermont right now. That is a very bad sign for the Beshear campaign. That's not exactly where you want to be if you want to win this election. So it seemed to be iffy, but it seemed to be trending more to the Beshear campaign. When you go to the state of Indiana, though, let's take a look here in the state of Indiana. He has it in different ways here. I don't know where the state of Indiana. So out of the state of Indiana right here, Louis Amaya had won the state with 54.5%, and the Democrat Rainbow Dash had won the state of had lost the state of Indiana with 45.5%.
Chris, Leo says that the House, Governor, and I think Senate is out. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we're gonna take a look at the results. What?
I'm excited. What question? Who became speaker after me? Or was there a speaker after me?
We don't know exactly. It's been all crazy. There's so many people right now.
I ran for the nomination. Vivek got it, but then he was in the scandal. I became it for a little bit, and then I think Ford back. Gerald Ford was it too.
Well, that's good. I like Ford. Happy he's winning.
Right. And so going back, we can now project out of the state of, well, out of the House results right now in 2032, we can now project that 4 seats have gone to the Democrats so far and 2 seats have gone to the Republican. It is too close to call. You cannot yet call the race for the House of Representatives. If the state no candidate receives 270 electoral votes, it will go to the House. Whoever is the projected winner in the House of Representatives will determine who will be the next president of the United States. So let's go to the Senate. We have 5 Senate seats up for grab. We can now project out of the state of Vermont. The Democrats have won the Senate seat in Vermont tonight. So we can now project that the Democrats will hold on to Vermont's 1 Senate seat. Now, we are now going to go take a look in the gubernatorial race as well. We can also project that the Democrats here have also won one governor's race out of the state of Vermont. We have 4 more states to call, both for the Senate and the gubernatorial races. We'll yet to see whether or not the Republican can expand upon the margin, whether the Libertarians can or the Democrats.
I'm just going to come out and say it. In the 2030 midterms, when I practically led the Republicans' campaign, we were in a much, much, much better shape than we were now. We got near supermajority results in both houses of Congress. We absolutely dominated when it came to governorships. We were killing it in the presidential polls. And I think like once I was gone, it slowly began to turn to oblivion. And I think what Republicans really need to do, because at this point, I don't even think it's up for a debate. I believe that the House is going to fall to the Democrats. I believe the presidency is going to remain Democratic. And I believe 49% in Indiana and 53% in West Virginia for a Republican on a presidential level is a sign that you are like beyond cooked when it comes to a presidential election. And it's like the popular vote.
How would you compare that back to 2028 results in the state of Indiana compared to this one 4 years later? How would you say Stople is performing right now? Would you say he's performing as expected or underperforming? Oh, I think he might have cut out, so I'm going to interject here. Okay, so we are now going to take a look at the state of West Virginia and see what the results are. In 2032, Stople has won the state with 53.2% and 30.1% out of the state of West Virginia. We're going to go compare it to 4 years ago and see what the results were 4 years ago out of the state of West Virginia. So out of the state of West Virginia right here, Amaya has won the state of West Virginia with 65.9% to 34.1% for President Raymond Dash. If you start to look at that margin here, the map and the gap between the two has actually narrowed. And that is very significant because that means that essentially, even though that Andy Beshear has lost ground in West Virginia, but not as much as John Stople had lost. John Stople had actually lost support out of the state of West Virginia, while Beshear kind of held his own in the state of West Virginia. This might be a very troubling sign for the Republican headed into this election night. Despite what the polls and the forecast has indicated, if you look at the popular vote over time here, you can kind of see the popular vote. You see that over time, the Republicans are taking the lead, but that has not always been the case here. It has been the case that, hey, listen, there's a very strong probability that we are going to see a Democrat back in the White House for another 4 more years, the way this election is going. What's really interesting as well about this specific election is what are the odds that the turnout level is exactly the same number as it was 4 years ago. And others have been saying, what if there's a scenario where we're going to see an election where Rainbow Dash and Louis Amaya back in 2028, we saw Louis Amaya fail to win, even though he got the most amount of electoral votes of any other previous Republican candidate. However, he still was not able to clinch that nomination despite the fact that Republicans were expected to win in this election cycle. The same thing again had kind of happened. However, the survey this time around believed 57% of people believe in the Leo Paradox survey that they believed that Andy Beshear was going to be elected the next president of the United States and that there was not going to be an upset. Do you still believe that John Stople has a pathway to the presidency?
Huh?
Do you believe that Stople, with all the results and all the data that we went over and compared it to the past couple of presidential elections, do you believe that there's even a pathway for John Stople to win the presidency? Why do you sound like you were
chat. I'm really sick at the moment, but
okay. I just wanted to ask you, at first the way you responded, it sounded like you just woke up from your nap, like you were sleeping.
No, this is kind of chaos. I have Discord open. I have the chat open.
Well, keep Discord closed. Because remember what I told you about Discord? When you have Discord open, you're unable to hear me or be able to have your audio good. Just be careful how often you're on Discord.
Dude, it's like horrible right now, but I think I got it fixed. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, as long as you don't have anything else on your phone or whatever application you're using, just try to keep everything closed and you'll be able to move smoothly throughout the night on this live stream.
Chris,
Okay.
I think there's a very, very, very slim chance we can win, but it's kind of crashing down now.
You're the vice presidential candidate, right?
Yeah.
He is the vice presidential candidate for
the
John
presidential nominee. Presidential nominee is one of the most conservative people in the server, and a server that overall leans left. And the vice presidential nominee is someone who has been known for corruption in the past. Not a very good matchup. And the Democrats have nominated someone who has actually had a record of getting stuff done. While I may not agree with Teddy Roosevelt, now Andy Beshear, he has definitely had a record of getting stuff done and being more moderate than a lot of Democrats. And who's the vice presidential nominee for the Democrats?
Maryland.
I don't really know much about him, but he got a lot of done on another server.
Whatever his name is, I don't know.
And we're seeing MetalCrusader, who I personally would have voted for. MetalCrusader's a great guy. He did a great job as Libertarian Party leader. I would personally hope that he wins a few states. Again, would have 100% voted for him. But yeah, I think Beshear is going to win in a landslide tonight, and I think the first few states are definitely showing that. I think the Libertarians are going to strongly overperform, and I think this is going to mark pretty much the beginning of the end for Republicans, because if they couldn't win in a year that seemed pretty much destined for Republicans to win at first, and now it's turning into like a slaughter for them, I just don't see it happening. Sorry, Owen. Hopefully you remain speaker or whatever you currently are, but I just genuinely do.
I'm kind of basically nothing. I'm probably gonna run for governor at this point if he loses, which most likely this is. No, there's like a 1% chance.
I want to interject if you don't mind. So we have we have the former chairman of the Republican Party who has now switched to the Libertarian Party, is now the chairwoman of the Libertarian Party. They are saying that they believe that this election for Andy Beshear would be a lot bigger than in 2024. Let's pull up the 2024 results with the former President Oliva. Despite the information and all the data revolving around the current president of the United States, who is Tom Higgins, and his approval rating compared to his vice president, former President Christopher Oliva, he had won with 407 electoral votes, with 67.1% of the popular vote, and Skylar B. Bennett, the Republican, got 32.9% of the popular vote and only got 131 electoral votes. Do you think that we're going to see a lot bigger of a margin tonight in this election, or you think that this election is going to get closer and more narrow? What do you guys think?
Well, I personally think there was a big difference between B's campaign and Stolpe's campaign. B, while a far-right conservative, he still managed to run a somewhat competent campaign While he doesn't anymore, he was very, very active. And from what I saw on the server, Stope is not very active. And B, I believe it was Anna Paulina Luna was his running mate, who had a decent record, moderate record. And Owen, I mean this with all due respect, you do not have as good of a record that Luna had. And I think when you look at the quality of the candidates, the Democrats were a little better in 2024. Republicans were a lot worse in 2032. And I believe simply because of the divide, thanks to the Libertarians, this is overall going to be a worse year for Republicans than 2024.
Okay. And speaking on all that, now that we had the results kind of going in, kind of seeing the results here, let's go and take a look out of the state of Indiana. Okay, so in Indiana, we have Bennett has won the state of Indiana with 100% of the vote out of the state of Indiana. However, when it went to Kentucky, Bennett only won it with 63% and 37% going to Oliva. When we compare this to the result in 2032 in the state of Kentucky here, Andy was John Stople was actually, let's take a look here, out of the state of Kentucky, had underperformed Bennett margin in 2024. So you think that that's a big trouble inside, especially if you're underperforming the worst candidate on the ticket for the Republican Party since 2024. That's a really bad sign.
Well, Chris, I would like to point out that, there was like a different voting system in that election. True. So it might not be like exactly the same.
Because there was a tie in the state of Kentucky. There was a tie in the state of Kentucky. So the result in the state of Kentucky was accurate.
Okay. Then the more you think about it, and I get the point you're trying to make, it definitely is not looking good for the Stoll campaign, and I couldn't agree with more. They are currently getting pummeled right now. And
you want to understand as well is we have here, I think tonight it's going to be where we witness the possible death of the Republican Party. But so far, there has been momentum within the Republican Party. A lot of Republican members, highly political members, are switching to the Libertarian Party. Do you believe that in the 2000 election that's going to take place in June, a reset, do you think that we're going to start to see a big movement, a big Libertarian Party take over as the majority party over the Republicans?
Well, during my time in the server, I had like a ton of people from my swim team, from my school, all in the server voting Republican. And that was really the biggest reason why we were winning, because I had a very, very large base that I was using to vote Republican. And I'll admit it, because I let's face it, I really have no future left on the server. But so I think without that, Republicans are already like pretty deep underground in the polls. But combine that with like a large number of them shifting Libertarian, I really just don't see a very big future. I think, is Lee the current chairman of the Republican Party now?
Yeah.
We just had a big. We are about to make a major projection here, so we're going to call some states tonight. We can now call out of the state of Connecticut, the battleground state here. We can now project that Beshear has won 57.7% out of the state of Connecticut. Beshear has swept Connecticut's 7 electoral votes. John Stople only got 26.9% out of the state of Connecticut, and Harris out of the state of Connecticut got 11.5%. And Crusader got 3.9% out of the state of Connecticut. Beshear got 31% margin between him and John Stople out of the state of Connecticut. This is a big margin out of the state of Connecticut. We can also now call a couple other surprise states tonight. We're going to call the state of, hold on, he's editing right now, so I apologize. So it's moving a lot. We can now call Massachusetts for Andy Beshear. We can now call Connecticut the battleground state.
Blue Florida this early.
Hold on. I'm making a projection here. Out of the state of Rhode Island, we can now project that Andy Beshear has won the state of Rhode Island. That is another battleground state has gone to Andy Beshear. This is exactly what he needs tonight. We can also now call the seat of Maryland, even though it was close in the poll. It has not gone to Andy. It has gone to Andy Beshear. The Republicans thought they were going to win it. They did not win it tonight. However, the Democrats tonight had also flipped the state of South Carolina. They have flipped the state of South Carolina. Hold on, actually, no, yeah, they flipped the state of South Carolina from 2028. This is another flip from the 2028. This is a similar map. It looks like as of right now, the way the election is going, it looks like a very similar map to what we saw back in 2024 with former president. He flipped the state of South Carolina in 2020. We're going to pull that map up right now, 2024. Let's take a look. He flipped the state of South Carolina. It looks like as of right now, Andy Beshear is mashing the margins in 2024, and it looks like that's the way the race is going at this point in time. We can now say that Andy Beshear now has 77 electoral votes to 56 electoral votes for the Republican. As of right now, we're going to say that Andy Beshear is the clear favorite and the clear frontrunner to become the next president-elect of the United States. John Stople has won the states of Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Oklahoma. Vice President Harris has gotten 10% of the popular vote so far to MetalCrusader at 3%. And Beshear leads in the popular vote with 47.8% of the popular vote to John Stople at 39.2% of the popular vote. Do you think we're going to see a scenario where the Republicans or the Democrats are going to reach the 50% of the popular vote, the majority, or you think both of them are going to be well under the 50% threshold to have a mandate going into the next into their presidency?
I just want to say this.
It's
Like,
very shelling that Connecticut was supposed to be a swing state. It was supposed to be a state that was on the fence, and Beshear won it on regular Democratic terms. And Florida was supposed to be a safe red, very Republican state. Yet
Trump won the state by 13 percentage points. So if Trump won it by 13 percentage points and Andy Beshear is winning it, that means Andy Beshear is overperforming Rainbow Dash's president.
It was called the same time it should have been called for Republicans, for Democrats. And was it 49% for Stope in Oklahoma? Like, you can't make these numbers up, Chris. Like, it is already over before it's even began. It's just, like, I want to root for Republicans because, of course, I am a conservative. But I find the Leo GOP at this point, aside from Jeffrey Lee and Gerald Ford, so unlikable and so unwinnable that it's just hard to root for them at this point. And that's why I think a lot of people are moving to the Libertarians or to the Democrats. Because while Democrat leadership has been awful, it is better than what Republicans are providing.
So this is what the map, by the way, this is what the toss-up state map looked like. This is what the toss-up state map. Just so I keep everybody aware, this is what the map go into this election. We can now call that Beshear had won the state of Connecticut. This is exactly what he needs. He won the state of Connecticut. He needed Rhode Island. He got the state of Rhode Island. Okay, this is the way the map is going in currently right now. However, he has lost the state. He flipped and caused an upset out of the state of Florida. That's a big flip for the Beshear campaign. This is exactly what he needed. He also did a surprise flip in South Carolina. He continued the Oliva campaign and the Oliva coalition and was able to rebuild that coalition up. This is exactly what he needed tonight. But this is kind of like the result as it goes in. This is what we're expecting the map to go in. We'll fill this map in and see how the change and the big shift tonight. You know, it's very possible tonight Alaska could go blue tonight. It's very possible that Andy Beshear could be the first Democrat in United States history since Lyndon B. Johnson to flip the state of Alaska. What do you guys say about that?
Well, I mean, Alaska has been trending blue for a very, very long time, so wouldn't be extremely surprising. But it's definitely seeming more and more likely. I mean, 49% in Oklahoma. That alone is like a bomb going off.
Let's go take a look at some of the results here. So I'm gonna do the comparison. So, what? Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll have to start talking about the results.
I think I really now Andy is most 100% gonna win now. Like winning Florida, South Carolina, we lost. We had to take an L on that. But I'm thinking of something. I'm still thinking about it. But right now, I basically saying this.
You're not
We
vice
lost.
president. I hate to break it to you. It looks like you're not going to be in the White House. Do you think that you
Yeah,
might have
sadly,
hang?
but still.
Do you think that you might have
Republicans would have done better. Republicans would have done better if they had just nominated me. Like, and that's like the truth. Because just looking at how bad Stope and Owen are doing, like, I could have lost. Sure, I would have lost a lot in the polls, but I would have still done better than blue South Carolina and 49% in Oklahoma.
So, speaking of all that, before we continue talking, I want to go over some of the results here. We're going to do some comparisons here. Out of the state of Alabama, Johnson has won the state by 50.4% to 38.6% for Andy Beshear, with 9% going towards Harris and 2% going to the Libertarian. So this is a very good sign for the Andy Beshear campaign. In the state of Florida, this is actually not a close race at all. It's actually quite shocking out of the state of Florida here. We have Beshear actually win the state of Florida by roughly 6 percentage points. Not the margin that, Oliva got back in, or when Oliva won the state of Florida. Let's go and take a look in the state of Florida here. He won that state by 70% of the vote in the state of Florida. However, let's see, Rainbow Dash has also won Florida. That seemed to be a reliable blue state, despite the fact that, Florida has gone to the Republicans in real life. Florida is considered a reliable blue state in the server. That's a thing that's common. However, when you look at the results here in Florida, Rainbow Dash got only 51.9% of the popular vote. When we compare this to the results now, Andy Beshear is underperforming Rainbow Dash, but they don't lose as much support as John Stople did. John Stople underperformed Louis Amaya in the state of Florida, and that killed him in the state of Florida. Now let's go and speed forward into the state of Maryland. Actually, Maryland is actually surprising here. So Maryland is actually pretty close between the third parties here. Maryland was won by Beshear by 47 percentage points in the state of Maryland. In the state of Massachusetts, with 11 electoral votes, again, the same story you kind of see here. The Republican well underperforming the expectation. I think that, there's a high probability now that, Andy Beshear could actually change the outcome and be able to win the majority of the popular vote, even surpass President Oliva's margin in 2024. Now, in the state of Rhode Island, which is also another battleground, he has won that state with 51.9% of the vote. When we go and take a look at how Rhode Island voted in 2028, let's go and take a look. He is well underperformed in the state of in Rhode Island. So what's really interesting to say the least is that even though that certain states are going heavily to Andy Beshear, it looks like the Republicans are just falling. It looks like the Republicans are falling, so does Andy Beshear. It means like third parties are taking support from majority from Republicans, but also the Democrats are also losing support in some of these states as well. So it looks like, a blue mirage. So going into 2000, could be a scenario we might see where the Democrats could fall further and the Republicans go higher or lower, and the third party can actually overtake the Republican and become a major player in 2000. That's what we might be seeing. This might be where the trends are going. In the state of South Carolina, though, let's do the three comparisons here. In the state of South Carolina, Andy Beshear has won the seat narrowly with 0.86% of the vote here in the state of South Carolina. He flipped a surprise upset. No one thought he was going to win South Carolina. He has won the state of South Carolina with 43.71% to 42.85%. The big spoiler in this election was clearly third party support. However, it would have gone to the Democrats anyway in the state of South Carolina because forward party in this aspect got 9.56% of the popular vote and 3.88% of the vote in for the Libertarians. So that is a very big shock. Let's go and take a look at how South Carolina voted back in 2028. South Carolina has went to 52.3%. Now with a flip for the Republican, the Democrats tonight have flipped it back to the Democratic column. So that is another flip back to the Democrats to do exactly what Andy Beshear needed to do. Andy Beshear underperformed Rainbow Dash in the state of South Carolina, but was able to hold on enough support that she was able to flip the state of South Carolina. So it was very interesting to see how third parties were, pulling both candidates down, but one candidate had a little bit of an edge, a little bit of a boost to be able to give them the state. Otherwise, it would have went one way or the other. So technically, what we're seeing tonight is how third parties are playing spoilers. So what do you guys say about all this? Because it's very interesting and very shocking nonetheless. Because out of the state of Oklahoma, 63% have voted for Maya back in 2028. In 2032, in Oklahoma, 49.2%. That's a 16% lead in the state of Oklahoma, in a state that is a ruby red. Ruby red, yet again, they lost that state. So what do you guys say about the results so far as it goes in?
Republicans are cooked, basically. And it's surprising.
I just wanted to say that Leo said that the House, Governor, and Senate results have been updated.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to go and take a look right now. In the state of the Senate, we can now make a projection that in the state of Massachusetts and Rhode Island had also gone to the Democrats. The Democrats have won and flipped back the U.S. Senate. The Senate had now gone to the Democrats. We can now make a projection that the Democrats have won the U.S. Senate. So we can now project that the Democrats have won the U.S. Senate. As for the House of Representatives, let's go and take a look. As of right now in the House of Representatives, I don't know what we're looking at right now, so we're not even going to call this because you're seeing the popular vote, but we're not seeing the seat percentage so far. So we're going to go back to that when it's ready. Oh, actually, it's on the top here. Sorry. So we can now project that 8 Democrat seats have gone to the Democratic Party. However, one House seat has gone to the Green Party, and 6 House seats have gone to the Republicans. So it looks right now that the 2032 House race, it looks like it's still very competitive. So I'm actually surprised that Green was able to win a House seat. That was also an upset that we didn't really see coming. Normally, Green was not a party that has been active. What do you guys say about Green becoming an active party for the House of Representatives? This is another win for the Green Party. The last time that they were able to win a House seat in an election was back in 20.
I'm just so sad to see my baby, my precious House of Representatives supermajority that I spent weeks building up, just destroyed by pure incompetence and instability. And it's honestly just like disgusting to see how far the hole has been dug when it comes to like the Republican Party's skill, because 2030 we were on top of the world, and now look at us. We are about to set a record for the worst performance in Leo service.
We do need to make another state call out of the state of Massachusetts and Rhode Island. We could now call the gubernatorial races have gone to them. However, the Republicans will hold on tonight to the gubernatorial races. They will have the majority of governor races in the state. In all the states, majority of the states, 29 states have Republican governors, 17 Democrats so far, 1 Libertarian, and 1 no label party. So we can now project that. We can now officially project that the Senate has gone to the Democrats. The Democrats have flipped the U.S. Senate. The House of Representatives is too close to call or too early to call, really, too early to call. The gubernatorial races have been called for the Republican well before any results has been picked in. However, right now we are waiting to see whether or not the incoming president was looked at. As of right now, Andy Beshear is going to have the House. He already had the Senate, so that's going to help him, especially when it comes to legislation. So that means that even if this ends up in a 269 tie or no candidate reaches the 270 threshold, we can now guarantee that the vice president will be a Democrat. However, we're not exactly sure whether the House of Representatives is going to go to the Democrats or not, because the way it goes will determine who will become the next president of the United States if no candidate reaches 270 tonight. So let's do that. So anyway, let's take a look and let's talk about the House races. So it's very interesting because, for a while, the forecast and the polls on TNN has indicated there was going to be a red wave. The popular vote has been indicating that, people have went, oh, blue wave coming. TNN has shown that. So let's take a look at the forecast map over time. So over time, you can kind of see here, this is kind of like how the map was projected to go. T9 was not too far off, but then these are the states that were too close to call. Then you can kind of see, for a long time, T9 has projected Florida to go to blue Democrats here. It has always projected that. However, it is too early to call. However, it was very interesting nonetheless to see that play out. Now, what is really interesting to us, because the House, when you look at the House votes in 2032, you can kind of see over here the Democrats had the majority. Then you can kind of see the Republicans at the end start to take up slightly, giving the Republicans the edge in the House of Representatives. You can end up seeing a scenario here, because when you start to look at the 2032 results, you can kind of see the House of Representatives actually kind of competitive. I mean, and as the results are ticking in right now for the House of Representatives, it is very much competitive. It is too early to call. It's too close to call. 8 seats for the Democrats, 6 seats for the Republican, 1 seat for Green. So it is still nonetheless too early to call and make a clear projection, but it's clearly obvious that third parties are having some sort of effect down ballot. How much of an effect? Well, that is still yet to be determined. But I find this to be astoundingly astonishing. There is a scenario here, though, where the Republicans could take back New York. They can actually flip New York to Ronald Reagan. They could take New Jersey. They could take Delaware. They could take Virginia. They could take Illinois. They could take Minnesota, Connecticut, New Mexico, and Oregon. I don't know if it will be enough for the Republicans to win, because they are losing states left and right, and I don't know if they're going to be able to make up the margin here. But it is very interesting to see how the results are ticking in and how it's going in at the moment. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, there's not much you can say other than that. I mean, you kind of took the words out of everyone's mouth. The Republicans have played incompetence and scandal, and as a result, they are bleeding support left and right. What they needed was a strong nominee who could pull the strings, who could rally the people together, and who could like unite a bunch of other people behind him. And I feel,
however, I must say as well, and Annie Klobuchar, who was the former Republican who took over after you had left the server. Well, technically you were banned from the server. She has actually overperformed your expectations on TNN forecasts until the scandal has broken, and then it was later found out that
well,
that
I would
same
also like to say
was
that
false.
what's his name had a pretty good point. When your opponent is someone that literally was the running mate of the Republican Party, of me, and then left that party, joined the Democrats, and then ran for president under the Democrats, yeah, that's obviously not going to excite the Democratic base a lot. And I think another thing is 12 votes isn't
let's take a look
more
at
accurate polls.
So let's take a look at the poll. And since you mentioned the former vice president, let's go and take a look at the polls here, and you can kind of give us what your opinion is on the former vice president and whether you agree or disagree with the results in those polls. Okay, so we're going to take a look right now at the polls. So we do apologize here. We are having some delay. Okay, so where is the polls here for the vice president? Okay, so this is the former the current vice president Reid. This is the current approval rating of the the current vice president of the United States.
Yeah, exactly. For a majority of that, it's either neck and neck or disapprove. And especially running as a Democrat, no longer a Republican, but a Democrat, he's not going to do very well. And I'd also just like to point and laugh, because I just now realized this, that Higgins has gone from, who was it? Was it Evander first? Or no?
It was Reid, actually.
There was one guy, then there was Evander, then there was Mike
Liberty.
It was
Reid, it was Evander, then it was Mike Liberty, and then it went back to Reid.
Yeah. He's had like 8 different vice presidents. And one of the things that I promised in one of my debates was that I would definitely not be as skeptical over who I chose in my administration like that. And, well, while I can't say I would now, I still believe that Roosevelt or MetalCrusader would also not have those troubles. But I think Stope wouldn't either, simply because of how inactive he was during my time in the server. And I doubt much has changed since.
And you want to know what's so interesting? Because we did the 13 keys to the White House, and the 13 keys to the White House, it clearly indicated the Republicans were on track to victory. Tonight, we don't see that. We see the complete reversal. We have a vice president who had a high disapproval. He gotten out of the Democratic primary because he knew that he was not going to win anymore because he started losing support. You can kind of see here Reid was going up at a high note. And then it just came crashing down. So he was not ever going to be the nominee for the Democrats. And if he was polling worse than Andy Beshear on average as the best case scenario. That was Philip Reid. Philip Reid was not polling well for the Democrats. He was definitely not polling well for the Republicans. The Republican probably best case scenario would have been Templeton or Reid or a combination of the two. Maybe their running ticket. Maybe Templeton be vice president and Reid be the front runner. However, tonight we can project that, Reid had indeed dropped out of the race and actually saved his reputation from an embarrassing election loss. That's kind of like how it looks.
I'm going to be completely
we'll
honest.
see how he does perform 2000.
This is just my humble opinion. The 13 keys are completely useless. I mean, they predicted Louis Amaya was going to win. He lost in a landslide.
Well, theoretically, hold on. I miscalculated, and it was actually predicted Rainbow Dash, but I misjudged and thought that there was a scandal, and I switched it to the Republican, but really it was on Rainbow Dash. It was my fault there, so I take the blame for that. However, the 13 keys had indicated that
I mean, even then, like 2024 IRL, that kind of really just debunked the 13 keys. I think a strong majority of opponents and people now believe that the 13 keys is like not real, not like a real keys to the White House.
It might not be it's not real. It might just be that it doesn't fit the modern electorate anymore. The electorate had changed drastically.
Oh yeah, of course, 100%.
Technology had changed the way the 13 keys could operate.
I think Trump had a lot to do with that. Also, I would like to say on stream that today is a very sad day. Of course, the death of Jimmy Carter, and
Jimmy Carter, he passed away.
We offer here on TNN the condolences to his family, and we hope he flies high. And yeah. And I learned that from the Playboy Cardi subreddit, which is the last place I'd expect to read Jimmy Carter was dead. But
so now let's talk about third parties. Third parties are doing very well in this election. Not as well as they were doing back in 2024, where the Libertarian candidate, James Adele, was polling on average roughly around 40 to 28% of the popular vote, falling as low as 11% of the popular vote. Democrats, the Forward Party and the Libertarian Party are not performing as well as that candidate in particular were doing, but they are still overperforming expectation. Libertarian Party is actually performing roughly on average what you would expect in real life. However, Forward Party is overperforming expectation and is getting expectations very roughly similar to the likes of Ross Perot. So if just say there was a scenario where this was 1992, Forward Party could be the new Reform Party, theoretically. So what do you guys say to us, to the Reform Party?
Well, I have a question. What if Reform Party actually comes back?
Well, I believe that it is because I plan to run for the Reform Party in 2000.
Oh, I was planning to set up the Reform Party as a party again, and you can't run again, man.
No, I can. It has been reset, which means I'm back in. I'm gonna be voted. I don't know yet. I actually didn't make that determination, but I thought about the Reform Party. I'm still very much up in the air. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do. I guess I won't really know until I put in my application.
I'm thinking of resetting the Reform Party or joining the Libertarians or the Democrats or staying Republicans. I'm really off edge. I
Well,
don't
you
know.
want
I
to know
don't
what
know.
Leo? Because Leo started in 2000. The Reform Party is considered a major party in the U.S. in 1992 and 1996. So theoretically, under his idea, the Reform Party should be classified as a major party in the U.S. and therefore should have its own channel just for that one election year.
What if it stays? What if it wins a presidential election?
What?
What if it wins a presidential election?
Well, I don't know what the logistics are. Obviously, time will change by then, and I'm sure Leo might be open to the idea if it has high membership in the party. Leo might be open to a possibility of keeping the Reform Party. We don't know exactly what Leo is going to do, and I'm going to leave that up to him. That is his decision to make, and only his decisions. But it is still very interesting. I mean, if there were just say a couple people running in the Reform Party, we're going to see a scenario where a Reform Party is going to, I mean, what are we going to say? There's going to be a primary, and it's going to be very similar primaries to the Democrats and the Republican. The question is,
Same with the
what is the primary?
Libertarians. They're gonna have a primary too. Most likely, the Libertarians are gonna have most likely a primary if Nancy wins and someone else does. You never know.
You know,
Maybe
actually, I think you make a very good point. We'll see what happens in 6 months from now. We'll see what happens. We'll see whether or not the Republicans are going to resurrect, whether or not they're going to completely crumble, whether they become a minor party and the Libertarian Party rise, or maybe we might see a new party. Maybe the Forward Party might start to take hold. We don't know exactly, but one thing we do know for certain, back in 2020, when we look at the results in 2020, every single party, from the Green Party to Skylar B. Bennett's far-right party, the Independent run, to Jaquan Fetterperson for the Reform Party, which actually the Reform Party has won in this election cycle, Jeffrey Lee for the Libertarian Party, the Conservative Party, and the Patriot Party. All of them have fell off the edge after that election cycle. Despite doing well in the election, they had yet fallen off. So there's a very, very strong possibility that, the third parties might not be able to kick in. They might not even gain momentum after this election. So I would not hold it to it. I would say we'll know better once we start, me and Leo start polling closer to the presidential election.
And I really think one thing, the Reform Party, I think the GOP, so we can now predict political junkin wants to run in the next election as a Republican.
What do you say?
And political junkin, the guy who
Oh, right.
the guy who, yeah, he's running for chair.
Honestly speaking, I think he would have been a good pick for John Stople. I think John, no offense, Owen, I think he would have been a good pick.
Yeah, but I don't take offense.
Like the energy and the aura would have been a good pick. I think for you, you're more of like the free bird. You're more of like you need to have your own campaign rather than your own to be the vice president. I don't think you're made for the vice president. I think you're more made specifically to run for your own. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I can kind of get that. That'll govern all of New York realistically.
Well, I think I'm gonna be definitely hosting the next event. We're gonna be covering the historical event. So we're gonna be starting back during the very early days of the United States, and we are going to actually create the history of the server by starting with the first election. I'm going to go from there, and then we'll switch back into Leo's event, which will be 2000, and then
What
before
about the
Leo's
governor's
event,
race?
midterms.
When
So
will
you guys
be
make allies, you guys be able to create new characters, whoever you want to play. You guys are going to be able to create the new history of the server. We're going to start with the Article of Confederation, with that document before the introduction of the Constitution.
What about the governor's race? Are we gonna do that before that?
The governor races, it's going to be an off-year election. That is something that's going to happen a month prior to the midterms. So that will probably take place, I would probably say, I don't know. How about you let me plan this out a little bit more specifically, and then I'll let you know. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah, let me know about that. But I'm gonna definitely do an all election, or probably do maybe one state. I'll have to talk to Leah about it. Or do one state maybe, because I want to make it a small event, because I do want to do the historical event. It's something I've been promising you guys for months, and I definitely want to do that. And then I also want to do a more of a heavy focus on the midterms. So you will be able
Because
to.
you guys promised the election on February.
What do you say?
You guys promised that you promised the Liberty states to have governor's race
Right.
in the beginning of the next year. So you at least should keep that promise.
Leo wants to help, what to call it, the Republican. He actually told me in private that he wants to run at the Leon Musk for the Republicans. He's going to be the new Elon Musk, but he's going to be known as Leon Musk.
Crazy. Imagine that Chris as the Reform Party, the Democrat, probably tries to pick Teddy again.
If I were to stay run, as a reform, you would primary me. But I don't think I'm actually going to run. I think I might sit this election out because I kind of want to do more heavy focus into the forecast. I really like how I'm doing with the forecast, and the forecast is everything. A lot of people have said the polls are completely fake. What I really wonder now that we kind of see how the polls were not always accurate and a clear indicator this election, the polls have kind of shifted towards the Republicans. We do have some polls. We're going to make some polls closes. We're going to call some races right now. Well, we're still waiting for some results here. So we're waiting for that. We're going to let him fill it in. So we can now call a couple battleground states out of the state of Arkansas. We can now project that John Stople has won the state of Arkansas with 47% of the vote here. He won with a 12-point margin. In the battleground of Delaware, Andy Beshear has won the battleground of Delaware with 51.9% of the popular vote. And he got 23% margin out of the state of Delaware. So that is a big battleground. In the battleground of Illinois, he won with 50% of the vote in Illinois. 30% to John Stople. He got a 19% margin out of the state of Illinois. In the state of New Jersey, Andy Beshear got 50% of the vote here in the state of New Jersey with a 17-point margin in the state of New Jersey so far. This is the sounding margin. This is kind of roughly even. It looks like kind of like what the polls have been indicating. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 2032 polling from TNN. Let's go and take a look in some of these individual states and kind of see how these states were going. Let's go and take a look in New Jersey. It was leaning R. Okay, so the polls were definitely off in the state of New Jersey here. It was off in Delaware, but Delaware TNN had it put up as toss-up. Maryland was definitely considered a toss-up, but the Democrats were able to take that state. South Carolina, ironically enough, even though it was considered a state Republican state, the Democrats have somehow managed to flip that state from safe R rating all the way to a Democrat state again. So that was very interesting to see enough and say enough. I think definitely that we're going to be looking at a very big landslide so far for the 2032 election. So let's go ahead and take a look at the results here. I just start to kick in. Right now, we can project that here now has 112 electoral votes to John Stople's 62 electoral votes. Yet it's too early to call who is going to be the president of the United States. However, Andy Beshear right now is ahead in the popular vote with 48% of the vote, and John Stople at 37.6%. Vice President Kamala Harris, the Forward Party, at 11% of the vote, and 3.4% for the Libertarian. Libertarian is overperforming expectation. Let's go and take a look and see how the Libertarian Party performed with Jeffrey Lee back in 2020. So Jeffrey Lee, the Libertarian Party, only got 0.9% of the vote back in 2020. Fast forward to 2032, MetalCrusader is overperforming Jeffrey Lee's margin. Right now, we can now project that only 51 million Americans so far have been counted, but only 32% of the votes so far has been allocated. We still have a whole bunch more to go, and it's too early to make that projection. We have already called the state, we have already made a projection out of the state of the Senate. We cannot call the state of New Hampshire and Maine so far. For the House of Representatives, we are now going to take a look and see if any results come in live from the House. There are no results from the House at this point in time. So it is very interesting to say the least. Let's go and compare some of this results and data. Let's go and take a look into the state of New Jersey, was it a very competitive state, at least in this election cycle. It was competitive back in 2020, was the last time it was competitive. Let's go and take a look in the state of New Jersey. Let's go and take a look. Well, Oliver had won that with 100% of the vote. Let's go and fast forward to 2032 in the state of New Jersey. And let's go and take a look in 2028. Let's see how New Jersey went. New Jersey got 61.5% to 38.5% for Louis Meyer. It looks like as if both candidates really had a big decrease. It looks like to me, though, it looks more like Beshear underperformed Rainbow Dash by a bigger margin than John Stople has underperformed Amaya. Definitely third party, definitely eating into some of these margins. Same thing with Delaware here. The result is roughly around similar. However, 51.9% for Delaware, 28.8% for we'll do a Stople. Let's go and take a look in the state of Delaware. 63% for the Democrats, 37% for the Republican. This is definitely a big difference between the two. Let's go and take a look in the state of Illinois, though. 50% for the Democrats here for Andy Beshear, 30.8% for John Stople. Fast forward to 2028 in the state of Illinois, 62% for Rainbow Dash and 38% for John Stople. So it definitely showed clear movement that although Andy Beshear doing well nationwide, it looked like the Republican had fell further down. And because the Republican fell further down, it created this image, this mirage that Andy Beshear is all that, when in retrospect, Andy Beshear might not be all that. He might just be polling around 50%, roughly around Vice President Harris margin. It's really the Republicans who fell down. That's what it looks like. It looks like the Republican Party fell or smashed down, where the Democrats kind of maintain further support. They actually got less support in a lot of these states, but the Democrats are actually underperforming the Democrats here in 2028, but they're able to have enough support that they were able to overshadow the third party who was actually tanking their support, and the Republicans just lost their support in general. That's what the results look like so far, which is really interesting to see nonetheless. Let's go ahead and take a look in the House right now. In the House, we can now project that 41 House seats has gone to the Democrats for 52.5% of the vote, and 28 House seats has gone to the Republican, and that is 34.4% of the vote, and 4 House seats has gone to Green. With 5.5% of the vote, Forward Party only got 3.8% of the vote here so far, and for Forward, and for the Libertarian at 3.8% of the vote as well for the House of Representatives. This is very shocking. This is very interesting to see the least. We're going to see whether or not Forward Party can make a splash and whether or not they can get some representatives in the House, and same thing with the Libertarians. The Libertarians did it back in 2026. They got as early and recent as 2030. They were able to put a governor in the state of Nevada for the Libertarian Party, and they were able to win a Senate seat in the state of Nebraska. That was basically very interesting to say none the least. However, Libertarian has more of a high ability to get people from their own party on the ballot and win, whereas Forward Party is the new party. The question is, how good can Forward Party do? That's something that we're remaining to see and wait. So let's go and take a look in the gubernatorial races. We cannot call any states from there. We're staying for the Senate. However, we have called the Senate for Democrats. The Democrats have won the United States Senate. So, go ahead. What would you like to say about this?
Right now, Republicans are pretty much cooked. Maybe they could do somewhat good in the House of Representatives. New York's next, and I just want to see how New York goes, and I want to fill up a county map with it. So, let's see that. And that's pretty much it. Like, most of these results, I think by the next round, we most likely gonna find out who's our president. There's a small chance that Club Hills or third party could win Maine or come close. That could happen. You never know. And that's pretty much it. And in the House, it is most likely going to go Democrat. Maybe Republicans can close it up, but really we have to wait till the next midterms.
Right. So let's take a look. All right. Anyway, so let's go and take a look and see how the results might go. Now with the map. So let's fill in the map here. We know we can kind of now call that Beshear has won New Jersey. He has won Delaware. What's it exactly the states that he
Just
needs?
fill it in blue so you don't have to do the margins.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
even-
Well, I'm just saying what flipped are. So we know like what states. The light blue means that the toss-up states have gone to the Democrats. The tilt states or surprise upset states that were not on the radar has flipped toward the Democrats.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. Wait, hold on. Had they actually called New Hampshire too? No,
Nope.
we have not called New Hampshire. No. Okay, so that is interesting nonetheless. So let's go and take a look. We have also called Illinois. That's another toss-up state right now. Beshear, based on the map and the way it's going, Beshear at 181 to Stople 286. So Stople really needs to sweep the state. As of right now, the polls have suggested he's well underperforming Skylar B. Bennett and Louis Amaya. He's probably going to be the worst performing Republican since 2000 with Donald Reagan on the ticket. I don't know what John Stople is going to be thinking. I mean, obviously the Democrats here were obviously trying to put up a candidate who was going to be the lamb, or the one who falls, and that they're going to take the hit. But it seemed to be that that had not happened. And however, the Republican put in their best foot forward, and they were unable to win, especially with the extreme far right views of his policies. A lot of Americans have been turned off by a lot of those views, despite Trump despite Trump.
Wait, can I see something?
Well, this is what other people are saying. This is not my personal belief, but this is what other people have been saying in the channel and in the server. The way that Trump won the election, Stople is underperforming Donald Trump in 2024, 2016, and 2020. That's terrible.
Yeah.
He's underperforming Donald Trump all 3 times. And he's actually underperforming Mitt Romney.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I want to say something real quick.
What?
I want to say this. What would happen if I was the nomination? What would happen?
According to TNN polling, you probably would have gave Andy Beshear a wipeout. But MetalCrusader would have actually surged into second place as a major party contender. The Democrats would have been roughly hovering around 40%. Kamala Harris will be hovering around 30%. MetalCrusader at 30%, and the rest of the percent will go to you, which will be, I think, 11.11. That's what you would be. So you would actually be considered a major minor party, but you would not even make it. You might not even win any states. It will really just be the Democrats versus 2 third parties.
Yeah, I think. Thank God that was probably not the nomination.
If you were a nominee, you would not be elected ever again. The Republicans would never pick you as their nominee again.
Thank God I wasn't elected in this election. Thank God.
Yeah, so you were very lucky. I mean, remember back in 2029, you ran against me in the House seat in New York, 1st Congressional District. You lost, and you want to know how much support you got?
0.
You got 0.
Yeah, because one, I didn't campaign because my laptop was broken. I couldn't literally use it. Second, I didn't want to be there because I knew I was going to be wiped out. But they put in me because they knew I was going to lose.
Well, you could have just went to another district. They could have just given to me 100%. Instead, they chose to put you there instead of putting you in another state or another area.
Yeah, that wasn't cool.
But that's okay. But you remember what happened to Skylar B. Bennett? Let's take a look and see the history of Skylar B. Bennett. So let's go and take a look. In 2020, let's see if Skylar ran back in 2020, which I believe they did. Skylar got 19.8% of the vote in 2020. In 2024, for the GOP primary, Skylar got 36.8% of the vote here in 2024. Fast forward 4 years later in 2028, Skylar B. Bennett got 8.8% after that embarrassing loss in 2024, and then fast forward 8 years later into this election cycle, and we have here Skylar B. Bennett only gets 4% of the votes. So every time consistently, it gets worse for you. Well, for her in general. So that means that if you were to lose a presidential election, you are very unlikely to be the nominee again. You have to be widely popular, or the election has to be extremely close for you to be chosen as the nominee. If you were to lose by a big amount margin, you're never probably going to ever be the nominee ever again. So that is the risk that people take. And I think that, you need to build that name recognition in order to become the president of the United States. You need to have that name recognition. Right now, you have name recognition, but people don't really know what you stand for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of.
So,
It was more. I really think. I don't know about 2000. I think 2000. I'm gonna take a little break. I might run for governor of New York. To at least get that done.
Well, New York is not going to be up. So New York is not going to be one of those states that's up. Actually, hold on. New York is going to be up. Actually, hold on. I lied.
Yeah, Liberty states.
Yeah, Liberty states.
Promised.
So I think off your election, we are going to do the Liberty states for the governor and the Senate. And then for the midterm, we are going to do the mid-Atlantic states as well.
Yeah. So
That would be.
I think I'm definitely gonna run for New York governor. Take a break for the presidential. Wait until it's like around 2016. So I'll take a long break, and wait until a perfect moment, and then jump back in and get my name fully recognized in New York.
How do you think this is going to affect you long term, especially with now you have a newcomer who got unbanned from the server, Shamrock? He's going to probably shake you through your core. How do you think that he's going to be able to do and allow you to be able to run? Do you think he's going to be your obstacle?
I don't really think. I think probably last time no one went for New York. No one ran. It was an NPC last time. I looked through it. I really think they would pick me because one, Lee Zeldin has very popularity in New York, and realistically, New York they would probably try to get the most people, but a lot of people is going to want in a lot of states to try to get it. But Liberty states, there are a lot of big ones, and not a lot of people is going to focus about New York. And if I won, I most likely could win an NPC one against it. Realistically.
And so, Jimmy Carter almost won the state of New York governorship. And then a SIP jumped in, changed the rules, and it was going to be Teddy Roosevelt, who was playing now as Andy Beshear. He was originally going to win New York in the New York governorship. But then things changed, and Andy Beshear, who was formerly played by Roosevelt, lost to Higgins. And Higgins, the incumbent president, he is popular right now. He has a high popular approval rating. Let's go and take a look at the current president and take a look at his approval rating. Yeah, let's go and take a look at the president's approval rating. It's in the high positive right now. It's actually in the even, but it's even, right? That's even. And there's a very possible scenario that, Tom Higgins might not want to retire from the presidency. He might go on and seek other political office. He might actually run against you for the New York governorship. He was, again, the former governor of New York. Do you think that you might be able to hold your own weight against him in the state of New York for the governorship? If you were to
yeah,
seek
but
it?
you never know because one thing, I really think we have to see what Tom thinks. Maybe he could run for Senate, because he already won for governor. And if he's a popular president, he can run for Senate. And Senate's a little bit more appointment than governor because Senate, you have a vote in the Senate and you can vote on bills. With governor, you just really focus about the state and not about the West. So I think he would go to run for Senate to help get stuff passed for the next administration and other presidents forward so Democrats would have a footing and Republicans wouldn't win the Senate. I think that's what he most likely and would be his best idea was would one in Senate. Because he already did governor. Like, you did governor, you did president. You can run for Senate, get a Democrat vote in, vote with you policies you like, get bills passed, and basically if you want to run for president again, you can run for president again. Or you can retire. Because probably the running for president again or the Senate is his pathway, basically.
Right. And so let's go and take a look and see some more extra data. I think we're going to look at the exit polls. Let's see if the exit polls are out right now.
It's been out. Like, when we first started the stream and we looked at the thing, it's been out.
Well, I don't see any exit polls right now.
Surprising. They had the thing ready.
Well, I told Leo really to put it on right after we hit the 270 mark because he said that it was going to reveal who was going to win. So it makes sense. So we're going to revisit this. But let's go and take a look at the exit polling data from other elections. Let's go and take a look at 2028 exit polling data. So we have Rainbow Dash won 80% of Democrats who voted. That represented 48% of all voters in that election. Amaya won 20% of all Democrats in that election cycle. For Amaya, though, he won 94% of all Republican voters, and only 6% of them went to Rainbow Dash. But that only represented 31% of all voters. For the Libertarian, though, it flipped. It went evenly between Dash and Amaya. Green Party represented 2% of all voters in that election cycle. Rainbow Dash had won 100% of all Green. For Independent and Other, Amaya won Independent overwhelmingly, but they only represented 6% of all voters. Amaya won them by 67% to 33% for Rainbow Dash. For no party affiliation, 9% of voters went to Dash. So that represented those who didn't have a party affiliation also went to Dash. If Amaya was able to somehow get more of the Democrat vote here, or be able to get all of the third party, independent, and no party affiliation, he might have been able to narrow up the gap significantly. Now, when it comes to the gender gap here, females, 33% of them actually chose Rainbow Dash, and 67% of them went overwhelmingly for the Republican. For the males, though, who represented 60% of all the votes tallied, 58% of them went to Amaya, and 42% went to Dash. Now, for those people who identify between the ages of 13 and 17, that represented 27% of the ballot total. 43% of them went to Dash, 57% went to Amaya. Those who are older than 18, 47% went to Dash, 53% went to Amaya. So Amaya won both the age gaps here, but somehow lost the election. That relates directly to those who identify politically. Now, when it comes to sexuality and those who identify part of the LGBT community, 25% of the voters voted in this election. They went 54% to Dash, 46% to Amaya, with Dash leave only 8%. When it comes to those who identify themselves as straight or heterosexual, 65% of them went to Amaya, and 35% of them went to Rainbow Dash. Compared to 2020 voters, in terms of the coalition here, 75% of people who voted for Oliva in 2024 was represented a makeup of 31% of all voters. 75% of them went to Rainbow Dash, 25% went to Amaya. For those of them who voted for Bennett in 2024, the Republicans that represented 21% of voters, 73% went to Amaya and 27% went to Dash. And for those who did not vote in 2024, 40% of all voters, 58% went to Dash and 42% went to Amaya. So that is the result in terms of the exit polling from 2028. So what do you say to that, and what do you think we might be walking into in terms of this election? Oh, we just got a big call. Okay, we got a big call. Okay, so we want to make some state calls here. We do have another. No, we actually have a hold, but in a big state here. So let's go and take a look. In the state of Louisiana, we can now project that the Republican candidate in the state of Louisiana, John Stople, had won the state of Louisiana's 8 electoral votes. This was considered a toss-up state according to T9 ratings. So T9 did say that Louisiana was considered a toss-up. It was very close. It has been very close. Stople only won the state by 3 percentage points. In the state of Nebraska, though, Stople has won its 2 electoral votes with 42.5%, almost winning Nebraska's only 2 electoral votes. It almost went to the Democrats. However, we can now make a couple major projections, some shockers here. In Nebraska's first congressional district, the first time a Democrat has won Nebraska's first congressional district has gone to Andy Beshear. Andy Beshear has flipped this district the first time and the first Democrat to do so. Andy Beshear has held on to Nebraska's second congressional district. Oliva has won it. Obama has won it. Biden has won it. Dash has won it. Andy Beshear tonight has won Nebraska's second congressional district. However, the one other congressional district out of the state of Nebraska, the third congressional district, had went to John Stople. However, in the battleground state of New York, with 26 electoral votes in the state of New York right now, 55.8% of all voters went to Andy Beshear in the state of New York. And so that is another battleground state that went to New York. However, 28% of voters in the state of New York have chosen John Stople. In the state of North Dakota, 49.4% and 31.5% for Andy Beshear. However, we do have a flip in the state of Ohio. I believe that's a flip, right? I didn't think that Dash won the state of Ohio. Yeah, so this is a flip. So Ohio went back to the Democratic Party. So we are definitely going to be expecting Andy Beshear to overperform Oliva's margin in 2024. So this is astoundingly really good for the Beshear campaign. If I was Beshear right now, I would be very excited, very ecstatic that I'm going to be the president-elect of the United States. I think it's safe to call that Andy Beshear has won the election. In the state of South Dakota, though, John Stople has won the state of South Dakota and North Dakota. Both were very close, but not close enough. In the state of Texas, though, we can project that Andy Beshear has won the state of Texas with 45.8% of the vote. He has underperformed Rainbow Dash's margin in the state of Texas. Rainbow Dash was from the state of Texas, so they did have that home margin, a home advantage. However, Rainbow Dash got only 50.7% of the vote here in the state of Texas. Andy Beshear 4 years later has expanded that gap, but it was able underperformed Rainbow Dash in the state of Texas by almost 4 percentage points. And we can call that Wyoming is a lot closer in this election cycle. And Wyoming went 54.1% to Wyoming. What? This is
Wyoming
so far.
Close.
Yeah, Wyoming is close, and 201 electoral votes can be projected to Andy Beshear, the Democrat, and 82 electoral votes can be projected towards the Republican. Right now, Andy Beshear is still ahead in the popular vote right now, with 48% of the popular vote, 37.8% to John Stople, and 10.4% going to Vice President Harris, Kamala Harris, and 3.8% going to Libertarian. That is sounding really good. It is a really good night for the Democrats. They are recreating that Oliva coalition. And also the combination of the gas voters. So it looks to me more so than anything, even though that Andy Beshear is underperforming all states, in most of the states nationwide, he's not underperforming as much as the Republicans are underperforming. That is helping Andy Beshear because the third party support are rising, but the Republicans are losing support significantly. So it looks like the Democrats and the Republicans are losing a lot of support, but most of that support is going towards the third parties. And because that's going to the third parties, the Beshear and Stople are falling, but Stople falls faster than Beshear, and therefore Beshear looks like he is doing well in these states, but really is it kind of like a mirage a landslide. This is not an outright landslide, but nonetheless, it's just still considered a landslide by all definitions. But this is not an outright majority in these states. I would not be surprised if Andy Beshear only got roughly around 53% of the vote. I don't think that Andy Beshear might get any more than 53%. What do you say?
I have a massive question. What if both parties didn't win in this election? Like, majority of these states, how would it go? Like, let's say Metal votes went Republican and Kamala votes went split, like 50-50. What would happen?
Well, wait, what? Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Okay, so basically, my question is, what if third parties didn't want and Kamala Harris votes is 50-50, 50% goes to Andy, 50% goes to John, and Meadows 3% goes to the Republicans? What would happen?
Well, in that case, I would probably say we will see a scenario where Texas would still be red. We'll see Florida still be red. South Carolina will be red. Ohio will be red. And so these would actually be a more of a competitive night. Actually, I think we would see a scenario tonight that John Stople would actually be ahead in the race right now. He would be, if this was the election and that was to happen, there was no third parties on the ballot. I think John Stople will be ahead temporarily, only because Andy Beshear seemed to be underperforming Democratic expectations in almost every single seat tonight, from comparison to 2024 and 2028. So the Beshear campaign has some rethinking to do. They may walk out of this with a narrow mandate. Nonetheless, it's still a mandate. We've seen a very similar setup due to the likes of what we saw back in 1992 and 1996, where Bill Clinton and the Republicans saw a drop in their support and it went to the Reform Party with Ross Perot. I think that is what we're seeing tonight. We're seeing a scenario where the Democrats may not even win the majority of the popular vote, and the Republicans fall the same way that George Bush fell in 1992. I think that's what we're looking at tonight. I think we're looking at a scenario where there's a landslide for the Democrats because of third-party support, and the Republicans fell. And this aspect here, the Republicans fell. This was a culmination of things. It was not just something that happened overnight. The Republicans were leading. They took the lead in the poll. They took a lead in the forecast, whatever. But this was a culmination of things. In every single election cycle, the Republicans had some sort of scandal and it tanked their reputation. It tanked their reputation as a national political party. And because they tanked their political reputation, they tanked in every single presidential election because they just don't know how to play fair sometimes. At least the people who they put up sometimes don't know how to play fair. And because of that, they had tanked the Republican Party to the point where those who do good, who aren't corrupted, they themselves fall victim to the corruption of the Republican Party. What do you say to that?
I think it's very true. Like, even if you try to nominate someone who has no scandals, the party's plagued with it. And even if you change the name, even if you try to do anything, the corruption is still there. And the only way to prevent it is not because most of those people who was corrupt joins another party, which another party could have a rise as a second main party, but then again crashes down. Because one thing, you have to have the Democrat support. You need a moderate party. Libertarians, they have a lot of people who was from the Republicans, but a lot of the big people was people with scandals joining the Libertarians. So if all those Republicans join the Libertarians, yes, that might be good, but it will slowly become corrupt like the Republicans, and they get plagued and a new party would start up.
Right. And
Because you're basically importing all the people from the Republicans into the Libertarians, and you're thinking everything will be okay and no corruption will happen. Even the big corruptions, you let them in the party, you go open and, oh, put you in jail? Okay. Oh, put you in very high positions? I'm not talking of anybody, but you get the idea, right? You give them main ideals, minority, House, Senate, anything. You give them power in the party, then they won, then they get into scandals, and then the party crumbles and a new party starts.
so we are going to now project that in the 2032 House of Representatives election result, 65% of all, or 65 House seats has gone so far to the Democrats, 7 to the Green Party, and 44 to the House of Representatives. This is kind of surprising. I'm actually kind of shocked right now how well Green is doing in the House of Representatives. Green alone might be able to deadlock the election. They might not be able to call the House. No party might not even have the majority in the House of Representatives. What do you
But
think about
see,
that
Green,
scenario?
just saying, Green is literally just the Democrat Party, but they're more focused about the planet and weed. They kind of want one of those parties as it's the Democrat Party, but you just take one speck of the Democrat Party and you pop it as a party. Green Party, Planet Party, Marijuana Party, basically. It's basically you just mix planet levels Democrats with a little bit of potheads because Greens are, kind of lose as that spec. Or like just Jill Stein people, those people, white or hippies. You just mix those all in together into one spot. You got Green Party right there. The Libertarians, grab a Republican, mix a little bit Democrat and independent values, mix it all in one, and you created the Libertarian Party.
Right. And so, do you believe that there's going to be a scenario where there could be an outcome where no candidate or no party reaches 218 House seats, and that the election might not be able to be called for one House majority or the other, and that they need to be able to bridge the gap and work in some sort of coalition? We might first see our ever very first coalition style government in the House of Representatives. Do you think that might be a possibility?
The Greens are just going to join the Democrats. So if you add all the Greens to the Democrats, and let's say it's super close and they only lose them by one, or let's say they need 7 votes for the majority. They got those 7 Greens, and if they multiply more, the Green can really just add on for the Democrats. If they do like 10, 15, that will all go to the Democrats. Remember, there's no really Republican Green person out there who's
However,
conservative
this,
Green.
this, this is what's interesting about the House of Representatives. The way it works is that just say no candidate received 270 electoral votes, right? That's unlikely going to happen tonight, but it's still a possibility. It has less than a 1% chance of happening. But let's say it does, and the House of Representatives is too close to call. Just say it was too close to call for the House of Representatives, and it goes to the House to determine who is the next president. The Senate was already called for the Democrats. We already know that the next vice president, whoever it's going to be, is going to be a Democrat if it goes to the Senate and the House. However, the House determines the House of Representatives, right? It determines the presidency, who wins the president. So we can now make a projection here of the Democrats had won 102 House seats so far, 11 House seats for the Green Party, and we are waiting to see how many House seats the Republicans are projected to win have won so far.
Basically, the Democrats have 113
2 House seats.
seats, basically, because the Greens are just going to side with the Democrats. We can just say that.
Yes, but the problem with the Green Party, though, is the Green Party is not active. So just say the House was to get thrown into the election and we don't know who the president's going to be, it gets thrown to the House. The way it works is, okay, so let's say there was no majority in the House of Representatives. Like we have the Democrats, we have the Republican, but then you have the third party who robbed both parties of having that majority. And so therefore, the way it will work in this aspect, this is the way I draft it in the proposal for the staff team, essentially it gets thrown to the House, right? And it's a kind of like a very similar setup to the way it works in the United States. That's why I wanted to stimulate it to be exactly as similar. I formulated it to be more easier for me and Leo to do. But the way it will work is just say, for example, the first 2 candidates, say the Democrats, the Republicans, and the Green Party, advance into the runoff, right? The way it works is 3 candidates advance into the election. It gets thrown to the House. Let's say there's no majority. The Democrats don't have a majority. The Republicans don't have a majority. The way it works then is that each ballot in the party announcement, the people who have voted in that specific party would then have to go for who they want as president. And then that will determine who will become the president of the United States and the House of Representatives, because there is no majority. There's a possibility that, even though the Democrats may not reach 218, The Republicans may not reach 218. The Green Party could be that buffer, and the Green Party might determine who is the next president if, let's say, the president does not reach 270 tonight.
I'm going to say this. The presidential election's updated.
Oh, okay. So we can now make some major calls here. Andy Beshear is now at 229 electoral votes to 93 electoral votes for John Stople. You want to know what's really interesting, though, is that Andy Beshear is overperforming Vice President Harris's margin. Actually, we just got a major flip out of the state of Missouri. Andy Beshear had won Missouri. You want to know what's so shocking? Andy Beshear is like a Southern Democrat, and he's doing pretty good in the South. Would you say that?
Yeah, but like you still look in a lot of the southern states, they still like, there's still
Right,
like
so
a bunch of Republican states.
Right. So in the state of Missouri, we can call that Andy Beshear has won the state of Missouri by 0.36%. So that's really close. Let's take a look and see what the results was for Missouri back in 2028. Louis and Maya won this state by 54.1% to 45.9%. Andy Beshear has flipped the state of Missouri. He's actually going to be the first Democrat to hold and carry the state of Missouri. Now, the way this election is going, I think we're actually going to see a scenario where we could see a blue Alaska. You know what I mean? We could see a blue Alaska. We have Colorado here. Colorado's the battleground. He won that state by 51.9% to 32%. He won the state of Colorado by 20 percentage points. So he won pretty well here. In Washington, D.C., I'm really curious to see what the margin was in 2028. Let's see. Let's go to Washington, D.C. I think it's Washington, D.C. down here, actually, I believe.
It is. We passed it a couple times.
I passed. Oh, great. Of course I passed it. I don't know how you see. Oh, right here. I guess it's listed at D.C. here. Oh, he underperformed Rainbow Dash in D.C. Rainbow Dash got 96.9%. The Republican in D.C. got 3.1%. How is the Republican doing in D.C.? Okay, the Republican got 1.4%. Andy Beshear got 83.4%. And actually, the Forward Party in D.C. got 14.8%. So in this aspect here, Forward Party did really well in D.C.
Well, obviously, it's a super liberal state, so it's gonna vote for anyone who's moderate left. Anybody who's left or moderate left.
You want to know? This is very interesting. This is not how I went into the election thinking this election night was going to go.
I just can't wait until 2000 at this point. 2000 with a main third party, if Reform gets created, and we got to see what happens in the next couple months. And if Reform really comes back.
Do you think in the next round of poll closing, we're going to be able to make an official call and official projection who's going to be the next president?
No, because of the electoral votes. It wouldn't be enough electoral votes. Even if he wins all the electoral votes, he wins every single one of them, it doesn't have enough.
Oh, yeah.
It's
called the winner of the seventh batch, which just has California in there. So California might put him over the top.
Yeah. Yeah. Republicans might not even get 100 electoral votes. They might not get even 100 electoral votes.
Do you think that this election would have been entirely different had it went to the original setup where Texas, Florida, Georgia, Texas, Florida, I think it was, Ohio, I think, and Illinois, and then some other Republican states as well would be considered toss-up? That's how we're going into me and Leo doing the toss-up race for the forecast for you guys to vote in the battleground states. Those states would have probably altered the race. What would you say? Would you have agreed or disagreed that there were different battleground states that you could be voted in? Would that have been entirely different? So we're going to wait. Yeah, we're going to wait for Leo to finish it, then we're going to make those projections. But we can now project that. What?
I want to say this. I have to disagree of that thing because, one, look at what happened in Texas, Florida, pretty much since like 2024 when Democrat, even in 2028. So at this point, realistically, I think he's doing even better than B. So realistically, it's probably the inactivity, and his only campaign thing was a little photo saying John Stople for common sense conservatism. And then before the election, he just made a little fix and put Zeldin on it. He really didn't do speeches.
For
Or
who?
like John Stople.
Oh, so you think that he just didn't care about the election? Like he would have won it
No,
if he tried?
he didn't campaign as much. Like I didn't campaign much, but one, I had school. Second, I had Christmas. And when I did campaign, I did wowies. I did small about wowies. I did like maybe 2 wowies. But I did Twitter posts. Yeah, I made Twitter posts, which was kind of funny. I kind of like that. And a lot of GIF things when I was too busy, I just did a GIF about voting because I would only have a little bit of time and I couldn't make a wowie in time because because this new my new family's kind of weird, so it's kind of different. So I have to play with my little cousin and stuff. So it gives me less time to do stuff.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely.
so I
Absolutely.
just tried my best, and everyone got angry at me. So
I want to ask you because we do have some major calls here out of the state of Maine's second congressional district. The last Democrat to win this district, even during Oliver's 2024 election, a big landslide election, really. He got 407 electoral votes in that election cycle. But when you look at Maine's second congressional district here, this is a major flip. The last time a Democrat was able to win Maine's second congressional district was actually Barack Obama back in 2012. That was the last time Maine's second congressional district had went to the Democrat. This was considered a battleground. Maine's second congressional district is a battleground. It was a flip for the Democrats here. Maine was also a battleground that also went to the Democrats here. Iowa was a flip from the Democrats here. Actually, it's the first time as well. I think, you can technically call, like I said, this election was kind of like 2008, right? I did say that. You can quote me on that. I called that this election was like 2008. This is the election map of 2028. This is the election map of 2024, right? Not once has Iowa gone to the Democrats here. It had voted independent at one point. It has gone to the Democrats. So what can we say about this election? We can definitely say that Iowa was a big flip for the Beshear campaign. Not to mention Kansas. Let's go and take a look at Kansas. Kansas did not vote in 2020. But in 2024, it voted for the Republican. In 2028, it voted Republican again by a likely margin. In 2032, it flipped to the Democrats here, but only flipped with a 3-point margin here. So it's so interesting because the Democrats does not have the 50% threshold. It doesn't have the 50% threshold needed, which means that if, just say there was a candidate who was average in polling, we can definitely expect some of these states that went to the Democrats to flip back to the Republican. These are states that like Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, Ohio, Florida, Texas, and South Carolina. These are states that we would expect, and even Maine's second congressional district, and Nebraska's first congressional district as well, to flip back to the Republicans under normal electoral circumstances. These are electoral trends here, right? It has been trending more blue and blue and bluer. For a long time, a lot of people have thought that, third parties will lose and cost the Democrats the election or lessen their ability to win elections and increase Republican chances. However, the reverse will happen. The Democrats did lose votes. They did lose support. Third parties gained a significant amount of support, but the Republicans just lost it. They lost completely of that support. It looks like the Republican had a lot of their support drained away, or they didn't turn out and vote. And so it looks like the third party support rose up, and just the Republicans kind of lost that support system. You know what I mean? Because right now the Democrat here is only hovering around 80%, 48% of the vote here. Let's go and take a look. I'm out of curiosity here. Do you want to look at the 1992 election with Bill Clinton?
Sure. And Leo said Senate, House, and Governor map updated.
Okay, so we're going to go take a look at that. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the House of Representatives. So we can now call 119 House seats has gone to the Democrats, 13 House seats so far for the Green Party, and 80 House seats so far for the Republican Party. So that's interesting to see how well Green Party is doing. And you're also interested too, because when you look at the results here, let's say you take 34, right? 34, add up the popular vote here, 34.3, okay, plus 6, plus 3.8, for 3.8. The Republicans would have been at 47.9. So a lot of the third parties seem to be going towards the Republicans. That's kind of like where it seems to be heading in this direction at this point in time. So it's interesting how a lot of people have flipped. We can also now make another flip and another call in the gubernatorial race of the state of Maine. We can now call that Maine has gone to the Democrats. This is another flip for the Democrats here in the state of Maine governorship. In terms of the Senate, we can also now call that the Democrats here will have a supermajority in the U.S. Senate right now with four Senate seats to deal with Republican. Will still remain in the recall for New Hampshire, but that is expected to go to the Democrats as well. We're waiting to hear from the results from election board in the state of New Hampshire. So this is a very good night for the Beshear campaign. If I was Beshear, I would be very ecstatic, and I would be very happy to know that I am on track to victory. He is only 20 electoral votes away. Actually, he is 30 electoral votes away from becoming the next president of the United States.
What if John just doesn't win any more states and he's just stuck at 93? It would be the most. I think that would be the best Democrat gain since.
We saw with the Democrats being below at 94 and the Republicans being at a high. This is like unexpected. Like this is not what we expected going into this tonight. We thought this was going to be a close election, regardless who was going to win. But it doesn't look like that. That is how the electorate went in. And, you know, I think it also got to know as well is that the former Republican chairwoman, Nancy Reagan, Amy Klobuchar, has run out and campaigned on behalf of the Democratic counterparts and had made sure that Andy Beshear could win. And we was like the polls are wrong, just like in real life. The polls are definitely wrong. The polls did not catch this. But I got to say, TNN did definitely catch some of these states. I got to hand this on. We got Florida right. We said that Florida was going to be a toss-up. Toss-up, but like, you know, competitive. We saw that Texas was going to be competitive. That was right. And I didn't go through the rest of the states because we didn't have enough time. I feel like if I was able to go through all the states, I think we would have been able to catch a lot more, Leo. But I definitely got to say, I definitely think I was a little bit on the right side here. Although some states like New York were a little bit wonky. So what we're going to do in the next forecast for the next election cycle, we are going to decrease. So me and you are going to find me and you are going to go through the results whenever we got time. And we're going to find, okay, so in terms of the polling forecast, with the higher percentage of people, what has been more accurate? And with the lower turnout, we're going to do basically essentially weight it less so it doesn't weigh as much in the polls. We're going to do that. I think that will be more of an accurate estimation to find out how states are going. I definitely think individual polling is pretty cool. What do you think, Owen? Because the forecast on TNN here with individual polling data in states and stuff like that, like Louisiana, I got that was going to be a closed state. You know, stuff like that. What do you say to that? Do you like those type of individual polling as well, regional polling? What do you say to that stuff type of thing? I want to hear your opinion from an outsider.
I like the polls, but like you should do something like we back TNN to actually make videos and actually like have like, you know, news things to be actually updated. Like this would be actually like a real fake, news station, and we would actually get news about the server here and not just on Discord. It would make it more fun and kind of realistic. Like polls every time there's a big polling thing and polling change, you can make a video about that. The video shows the change and it would look pretty cool.
I talked to Leo the other day. I talked to Leo a couple of hours ago before this election started that I want to do an election analysis video and see what happened in this election. So maybe I can get like a panel of people who might want to join and we can all discuss our thoughts about the election and the data and what happened on election night tonight.
Mm.
I think you might be. I think you might want to be a part of that because it seems like you have a lot to say.
Yeah, and there's another thing. You know how those people have those little view boards and they click on a state and it shows up? That should be happening in polls. I don't know if you can do that in polls, but if you can click on state and it shows the polls, and you don't have to go through like bunch, you could just have the polling map, and like the other tabs would be like the House, Senate, Governor, or like the primaries, and you just click on the state and it shows like the primary or like the poll results, so you don't have to go through multiple tabs to find it. It'll just be one tab, like the presidential. You tap on like one state.
Me and Leo will be able to do something like that, but right now, I made that forecast. That entire thing was built from the bottom up. I can definitely see what I can do. Obviously, Leo is more tech savvy than me. I'm not quite tech savvy. I actually taught myself how to do a lot of the things. Leo, of course, helped. So I gotta give Leo props for that. But what's it called? Again, I'm sure within the next 6 months, the forecast is going to improve. It's going to look a lot nicer. It's going to look a lot cleaner, a lot more smoother. I'm sure there's going to be another bunch of changes that's going to take place. I actually want to hear Leo's opinion and your opinion as well. With the battleground states and the toss-up states and voting in these states, do you like that idea? How the toss-up states might not always vote the way the popular vote's going?
See, I don't know. One thing I'm gonna say this for TNN polling, I don't like ranked choice voting because it's kind of a task, Like I know one candidate, like ranked choice voting. Like let's say this basically.
What about
I would like one. Okay, when you're voting in like polls, you like one candidate, right? I really don't like any other candidate, and you pick that for the first one. Then you have to really just pick randomly. So you pick the more conservative. If you could Republican, you pick the more conservatives and then put Democrat last. But if you're Democrat, you put the most liberals and then the Republicans last. And it would be more easier. And I think even Jeffrey Lee said that if you could just click a button and you could say, okay, you support this one candidate, okay, you like that. And also in the election thing, I looked at the form with one of my cousin's accounts. I just wanted to see it because I couldn't vote. And basically, no. So basically, my cousin is on the Discord. Toxic. She doesn't really vote, but I looked at her phone. I wanted to see how it looked like because I really just wanted to know how it looked like, the style of the voting. In the swing states, it was ranked choice voting, right?
Yeah. I want to know why me and Leo did it? Because the last time back in 2020, we couldn't call the states. We couldn't call the state because we didn't know the way that they were going to go because we were making false assumptions. Like, for example, we did it back in 2028. Back in 2024, that if the state there was a tie, it goes back to the way it was in real life. And I told Leah, why don't we just do ranked choice voting and let those people vote in those states and let them decide the toss-up states. The toss-up states is decided by the people based on the polls.
Mm-hmm. Also, question. You know what I mean? Yeah. One thing. Can we actually make toss-up states not as like the toss-up states for this election was like New York, Connecticut, lots of Democrat states. Maybe
why they were. They were based on the margin in 2024. That's why they were tossed up because Andy Beshear in the poll that me and Leo were comparing it to, he underperformed by 20 percentage points. Hold on, we're gonna make a major projection here. We're waiting for Leo to finish this.
But
Okay, so now
he
we can
didn't even
project.
get to 100.
Yeah. So hold on. We can now project that in the 2032 presidential election, we can now project that Andy Beshear is the projected winner. He is now president-elect of the United States. Andy Beshear is now the president of the United States. He has won the U.S. presidency with 326 electoral votes. To John Stople, the Republican candidate, only at 98 electoral votes so far, and still other states remaining to be counted. The vice president, former vice president Kamala Harris for the Forward Party only got 11.4% of the popular vote, and 3.7% of the popular vote went to MetalCrusader. None of the two major party candidates got any electoral votes. Nonetheless, they did get a significant chunk of the popular vote. And Beshear so far has 50.3% of the popular vote. So he has a majority. He had that very narrow mandate going into this election cycle. Very interesting to see nonetheless. Let's go and take a look at 1992 and see what the electoral college map looked then. So we have a scenario here where Bill Clinton won with 43% of the vote here in what's it called, for the Democrats in 1992, right? He won with 370 electoral votes. George Bush got 168 electoral votes, only got 37.4%, and the third party got 18.9%. Right, that is what we're looking at here. So let's take a look and see. So John Stople got 34.6%. Let's compare this to 1992. He's underperforming George Bush, which means that we are expecting the Electoral College based on the poor performance of the Republican nominee for president. The failed Republican nominee, theoretically John Stople, is well underperforming the margin of George H.W. Bush in 1992. But Andy Beshear is overperforming Bill Clinton in 1992 with the margins here. So this is very significant. And when you compare and add up the popular majority for the two major third party, well, two minor party for Forward and Libertarian, and you'd say you 11.4 for 3.7, it's a majority of 15.1% had gone to third party support so far. 15% of the electorate showed someone else other than the two top candidates, which is very significant and very important. What do you think about that? Do you think that this had played a major role in how the election was shaped up? Because we obviously had just called the race for Andy Beshear.
I'm going to say this one thing. John literally has not got 100 electoral votes.
What do you say?
Like this entire John hasn't reached the 100 electoral votes. And realistically, the Dems are going to probably get maybe 400 electoral votes here. Probably going to be the best election since probably 1964, last time I checked. I don't know. I have to check my election.
Well, let's go and put the exact map and let's go and see.
Let's say every single swing state goes to Democrats. Because most likely it will. There's no way that the Republicans can win all those swing states. New Mexico, Georgia, Virginia. Virginia hasn't been called yet.
Yeah, Virginia had to be called now because it is a swing state, theoretically. I am actually going to put in the map here on the screen, and we are going to fill in the current maps, and we are going to talk about the pathway. Well, there's no pathway, so Stople cannot become the president. He had lost the presidency, so there is no pathway for him. But
yeah, but I really think most likely what if he just doesn't gain any more electoral votes? He's stuck at that 90. Let's say he's stuck at that percent.
That's exactly what we're going to explore. So we have here, we called these states. Let's fill in the states here. I'm going to just do solids here, just so we can kind of see it. Okay. Let's take a look. Okay, so okay, we have Rhode Island.
Wait a minute,
What?
Hey, you know what's funny? This would be the first election in 1964 for a very high Democrat performance of 400 electoral
what?
votes. Yeah, if
What?
John does not gain any more electoral votes, he would be the first Republican since Barry Goldwater, to not gain 100 electoral votes as a Republican.
Oh, really? Oh, we missed a big state. We missed the state of North Carolina.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? A lot of those states that was called for him for Beshear, all of those states went for Larry B. Johnson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Barry Goldwater only won Arizona, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina.
Huh. You want
So
us?
if you really look at it, if Beshear wins all these swing states, he will literally be like Lyndon B. Johnson, but only deep perform him by a couple electoral votes because John Stope has 98. Barry Goldwater only had 52, meaning that was still so close to Barry Goldwater. Meaning Republicans is doing bad as 1964 as a racist. Barry Goldwater was kind of racist, and that's why he lost. And he was against the vice president who got into office because
I do want to say, hold on, I do want to interject for 1 second. Leo, the math is incorrect. Stople should be at 99, and Beshear should be at 324. Just the math is incorrect a little bit, just so you know. Okay, as you were saying, I'm sorry.
So if this was be correct, if realistically John wins Georgia and Arizona, one that doesn't matter, but it would still help prevent him from being.
Off the Leo, so you can fix that.
So let's say John wins Georgia and Arizona, Barry Goldwater states. If he does, it doesn't really matter, but most likely those will go Democrat. Majority of these states will go Democrat.
What were Barry Goldwater states? Or with the whole South, right? With the whole
it
South.
Was Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Arizona, and that's it.
Well, theoretically, though, I also swept some of those Barry Goldwater states as well. I won Georgia.
And in Alabama, he won by 38.9, and he was versus other. Yeah, no one else ran. No one voted for the Democrat. People voted for the option other. Johnson wasn't even on the ballot in Alabama.
The closest.
The
150 electoral remaining.
The closest states in in the election I'm talking about: Idaho, Johnson 1.8, Florida, Johnson 2.3, and Arizona, Goldwater 0.99. His home state, he barely won.
I'm gonna let you keep talking. When you're done, call this state. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Okay. So the House basically get 20 green. Just add that to the Democrats. They basically got 200 House. They just have to get about 18 more seats here, and they basically won the thing without even winning 218 because the Greens really just helped them there. There's really no updates. I think Leo's just fixing his electoral vote things. So yeah.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, the Democrats only need 18 more seats because the Greens has 20. Oh my God, Lewis. But basically, the 20 Green seats would go basically to the Democrats based on voting. Basically, if you really think about it, and then they only need 18 more seats. So if they get 198, which is most likely happening, even if they lose the majority seats, like they only get 908,
Are you talking about
they
the
would
House
still
or
need
the
House,
Senate?
yeah, House, because see the Greens is 20, so if you put the 20, 200, and they need 18 more seats, right? So basically, you just add the numbers, and they just need 18 more seats. So technically, right now, if they get 198, they would basically win without even getting the 218.
So they wouldn't win. They'll have what you call it? They'll have to have a coalition government, which would still
Yeah.
be for the.
Ain't Greens already coalition with the Democrats?
What?
Ain't
Not a Green Party actually have
Greens
more
like
say in the
already
election. So we're gonna have Lewis call us,
Huh?
and he's gonna join the live because he can't get in. So he's gonna call. We'll see.
Okay.
But let's take a look at the map. This is the remaining electoral college map right here. Like, look at that. Okay, so let's say, he, like you said, let's say he doesn't win any more seats. Let's see what the map will look like. Let's see what the electoral college map will look like. Okay, so here's the map. Let's say he wins every other state that's open that still had not yet been called. He would not only surpass Oliva's margin from 2024, he will also surpass Rainbow Dash's margin from 2024. Holy shit, my dog just took a Twizzler out of the bag. And if that's the case, Stople would never crack 100 electoral votes like you said. Stop taking the Twizzlers out of the bag. So I think you're completely right. There is a scenario and an outcome where Stople may not even win the more than 100 electoral votes, not even get 100 electoral votes. What do you think is the likely outcome here?
On the
Do you
election?
think this is the likely outcome?
Yeah. Basically, this is like the worst case. And Republicans' best case is mostly winning Alaska, Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada, and probably that's it.
Can you hear him?
Huh?
Can you hear Lewis?
Not really. Oh, yeah.
Good night.
Okay, huh?
I struggle now. I can't.
Hey, dude, I gotta go.
I like to hear, but hopefully you hear him. Getting Twizzlers. My dog's obsessed with Twizzlers, and I have people, and
I think
kind of
it
grab. So, Lewis, what is your opinion on the election results so far? Listen, why audio on this thing is so hard to hear. Voice isolation. Cause I don't even hear it. I just had to do it with my phone. Maybe it's the audio. Oh, I didn't have him on speaker. I didn't know this cool. You had to put him on speaker. Okay, now talk. Okay, yeah, audio's terrible. Oh, I also had it volume low. Okay, now talk.
Yeah.
That is so embarrassing, but high.
What?
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
So I was saying that having a fourth Democrat president will be like weird because there are a lot of Democrats in the server. I don't think that all Republicans did vote for a Democrat nominee. I did better when I was a Republican and I ran for president.
Right. Give me 1 second. I'm going to give. Okay, so put you and Lewis in the Discord. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to actually add you and Nancy into a call. They're going to join us into the live because that's what they want to do. Actually, here, why don't you join with Nancy? I want to put her in here, and she could be able to join us with us. It'll be fun. Okay, I'm gonna hang up on you. Okay, so we're in. So we have Nancy, and we're also gonna have Lewis here. So we have both in the thing. Oh, and do not answer the call. So don't answer the call. It's not Ghostbuster. I'm messing with you. Okay, so anyway, this is the map. What do you think that the map is gonna look like? Do you think the map is gonna be like this, where like you said, they are not gonna be able to reach 99 electoral votes? But it's probably the worst performance for a Republican since Donald Reagan in 2020. It just makes Skylar B. Bennett look like a better candidate. What do you say? Hi, Diego.
I didn't hear you very well. Can you repeat it?
Yes. I said that what's it call it? The election, specifically this election, looks like nothing we ever seen before. But it's probably going to be one of the worst performing for the Republican since Donald Reagan in 2020 for the server. And according to what Owen said that what's it called? They don't get more than 99 electoral votes. He will perform just as badly as Barry Goldwater did in 1964. Isn't that crazy?
Republicans did terrible in this election. And exactly 98 electoral votes John have right now. And they lose the House, I think. Yeah, they are losing the House of Representatives. And well, in my opinion, selection for Republicans have been a disaster, even for my party. But I hope that in the future, our party will grow, and well, I don't think that Republicans will gain too much.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I definitely agree. We are going to make some quick projections here. Right now, Andy Beshear now has 368 electoral votes to 98 electoral votes for John Stople. John Stople did not gain any electoral votes out of this batch, but Andy Beshear did. Right now, he is in the head in the popular vote with 50.8% of the vote. To John Stople, 34.2%, 11.3% of the popular vote for the Forward Party, and 3.7% for Libertarian. So we're going to tell you what states have just been called. We do have a big bunch out of the battleground of North Carolina with 51%. Oregon was in the battleground, which is 53.8. Washington, which is 58.9. New Mexico, which is 51.9. Virginia, which is another battleground state, 50% of the vote in Virginia. So it was pretty close. I mean, it was pretty much on par with the polling. In terms of Hawaii, it was 62.4. Georgia, 54 points. Beshear won the state by 17 points. New Hampshire with another flip as well. Well, as a whole, actually, excuse me. And he won that with 53.8% of the vote in, in New Hampshire. So that is very interesting. We only have a few more seats to call, but it looks like John Stople is going to surpass Rainbow Dash's margin pretty soon, the way this election is going so far. What do you have to say, Amy, if you had anything to say? I know you said you wanted to join.
All right. So, hello, I'm Amy Klobuchar. I'm the chair of the Libertarian Party now. I was the chair of the Republican Party a long time ago. So I did a fair bit of campaigning for Andy Beshear toward the end here, just in the last day. And I think it's going to be a blowout worse than 2024.
Would you like me to pull that map up for you so you can emphasize it?
Oh, I suppose. Yeah, 407. Yeah, I think it'll be even bigger than that, because even if Beshear was to not win Alaska, that's still more, because it's only 3 electoral votes. So it's going to be a very large blowout. I think max amount for Stope is going to be 101 electoral votes.
And do you think this map is going to be likely?
That's a very plausible map, yes.
But we actually just called Georgia. We called Georgia. We just called Virginia.
New Mexico.
We also called New Hampshire. And we called New Mexico. And we also
I believe
called
Hawaii as well.
Yeah. So really, only now is just 72 electoral votes remaining.
So, as with the Libertarian Party, I suppose what our main goal here would be is to reach 5% and become a major third party, receive federal funding and all that. But throughout the next few years, we're going to work with the Republicans, and we're going to try and go hand in hand and win as much as possible, get on the board, and slowly work up and build our party to become a major contender in elections in the future.
And so, speaking of that, Shamrock has been unbanned, and he plans to retake back the party, and he blames you for the fallout of the party. Do you think that you will be able to really work with the Libertarian Party? I mean, will you be able to really work with the Republican Party?
Yeah, so I've already had conversations with him, and we've come to some agreements. I won't disclose anything here now, but we're going to work together, and we're going to come back as conservatives aligned, pretty much is what we're doing.
Okay, so are you guys going to be making a caucus? Is that what that sounds like?
Well, it's possible. I'm not going to disclose anything here, but we'll have to see what happens.
Well, right now, you guys have no Senate seats. Right? We can call.
We have one governor's seat.
Democrats. And in the House of Representatives, you have not won any House seats. So far, Democrats at 191 House seats, the 21 House seats for the Green Party, and 128 House seats for the Republican Party.
Yeah, we're gonna in the midterm elections. We're going to try pretty hard to get ourselves on the board in the House and Senate. And we have one governor's seat right now. MetalCrusader is currently the governor of Nevada.
Do you think that you might be able to win Nevada tonight, or you think that's not going to be happening?
I don't think we're going to win any states like in this election, but I'm pretty sure in 4 years we've got the next one. We're at least a few states. I don't think we can win quite at that point, but anything can happen between now and then.
Right. So now we are waiting for some new states. He just called some new states right now. We're waiting to see what the new electoral vote count. We do know he just called the state of Pennsylvania and Minnesota. He had right now. Andy Beshear got 395 electoral votes so far. Most states have went to John Stople. More states are still going to Andy Beshear. We can now officially project that Andy Beshear has surpassed Rainbow Dash margin of 389 electoral votes from 2028. So 4 years ago, Andy Beshear is overperforming, but we're waiting to see whether or not he's able to win the remaining states. We think so far he is going to, because it is not part of the battleground map, and therefore it can go most likely towards the Democrats here. But we will see.
Yeah, I think just about everything else, possibly with the exclusion of Alaska's going blue tonight. Can you take me to the margins for Minnesota and Pennsylvania there?
Take you to the margins in Minnesota and what other state?
Pennsylvania. I just want there's the latest 2 calls. I want to see what that looks like.
Right. So let's go and take a look in the state of Pennsylvania. Was the blackest battleground in this election cycle, despite the internal polling data from CNN, what CNN had in the polling in Pennsylvania. And in the latest Pennsylvania polling data, which had a lower amount of people, it determined that it was leaning towards the Republican, but had to lean R. You can kind of see it was pretty close in the election. The Republicans believe, but in the end, the Democrats ended up taking back that lead tonight. We can definitely see that in the polling data.
Yeah.
Andy Beshear got 53% of the vote here, 36.3% for the Republican, and 6.3% for the Forward Party, and 3.9% for the Libertarian Party. And Andy Beshear
Wow. So
got,
I mean, it was a 20-point lead. It's
17 point lead.
Well, yeah, nearly.
However,
I was looking at the wrong thing.
23-point lead
Yeah,
in the background state of Minnesota.
it's definitely large. Minnesota is what, 23 points.
23 points. If you want to compare that back to 2028, let's go and take a look in the state of Pennsylvania and see if whether or not he overperformed, underperformed the margin in Pennsylvania. We have seen consistently he has been underperforming. Andy Beshear has been underperforming Rainbow Dash. So this was a close election. Andy Beshear will be kind of like struggling a little bit, but will have a lower electoral vote count than President Dash, but he will still win the presidency with the lower turnout in these states. But yet again, because of the third party, it has been taking away a lot of that support, which is kind of interesting because a lot of the Forward Party is pretty progressive of a party, but yet it's doing pretty well in almost every state, which is pretty astonishing nonetheless. But
yeah, they're taking a high percentage.
Yeah, they're taking a high percentage, and yet that is the progressive vote, which means that there is some sort of the Republican Party that was part of the Republican Party that might have been neglected that was actually progressive. We just didn't know it.
It's quite interesting, this election. So, like as I said before, okay, so the Forward Party, they're getting what percentage of the vote are they at right now?
Right now, like nationally, you're talking about
nationally,
nationally. Nationally, they are at 11.1% of the vote nationally.
Yeah, so that'll put the Forward Party on the board, giving them national recognition.
That's true. The Libertarian Party did quite well. It overperformed 2020 election results back in 2020 when the Libertarian was on the ballot.
Right, and they're going to be considered a pretty big contender, I think, in the next couple of elections, if everything goes right for them, and that's what our goal is as well. Try to just contest the presidency, try to force contingent elections, get our best shots at presidency.
Right. No, absolutely. I agree with you. 100%. I just find it to be very interesting to see how this election has gone. Because like Andy Beshear right now got 79 million. He's definitely not by any means going to reach Oliver's popular vote margin. By any means. He is well underperforming the popular margin.
Yeah, it's just the electoral college shifts and whatnot, rural voter shifts. It's not quite going to be the popular vote, just the massive blowout there, but the electoral college, I think, will surpass that of 2024.
Yeah. Was it interesting? 2024 would have been a bigger electoral college map had it gone the way it probably would have with this electoral college system.
Again, different voting style then.
Right.
So it would have been much bigger had the voting style been what it is now.
Okay, so we are now going to make a projection in the House of Representatives. The Democrats at 203 House seats, 236 House seats for the Republicans, and 23 House seats for the Green Party. I want to first get opinion from, Lewis, go ahead. What is your opinion on the House and the presidency? What is your opinion? And Amy, let me know if you hear him, just so I can make sure that everybody hears him as well.
All right.
For the House of Representatives, so the Libertarian Party having won in a seat, right? And the presidency, Democrats are doing better than ever. And I would say that Democrats could do better in the next presidential election. And, and for the Senate, uh, neither a Republican or other political party will have a better election. So I will say that Democrats will get better in the future. But the party where I am, I'm the vice chair of the Libertarian Party, we will make everything possible to gain seats from uh, the other political parties. So, um, for lastly, um, Republicans are not going to get better. Democrats are going to get better, but the Libertarian Party will get better
Right.
in the future.
So we are going to take a look at the exit polling data. Let's take a look at the exit polling data. Oh, I'm at the primary. Let's take a look and see what the exit polling data showed. So the exit polling data for the Democrats, for those who are backing the Democrats here, Democrats only back 67% of the time for Beshear. 21% of the time they voted for the Republican John Stople, which is actually pretty shocking. That's a very high margin for a Republican when it comes to Democratic voters. Democrats came out and voted in this election. You want to know by how much? 64% of all voters were Democrats in this election cycle. But yet, when you look at and compare the result, only Andy Beshear got exactly so far 51% of those voters. That means that out of 64% that represented on the ballot, the votes who came out and voted, only 51% of them chose Andy Beshear. Right? 21% went to Stople, 12% went to Harris, and 0 went to Crusader. That's a net spread of 46 for that. For the Republicans, though, that represented 27% of the overall ballot, 71% of them went to John Stople, 21% went to Beshear, which basically means that Beshear almost made up the margin that what he lost to John Stople, right? 7% of Republicans voted for Harris for forward party. 0% went to Crusader. However, for the Libertarian Party, with 100% of the vote, 4%, the Libertarian Party actually gained more support in this election. With 4% of all voters, the Libertarians got 100% of the vote. They got all of the Libertarian vote here. For the Green Party, 0 Green Party voted in this election cycle. They represent 0% of the people in this election ballot, despite the fact that they themselves are gaining in House seats, which is astronomically crazy. Now, when you look at the independent other, which represented 2% of the popular vote in the election cycle, it was 50-50, not between Beshear and Stople, between Beshear and Harris. Harris and Beshear won 50-50 in terms of the independent other party vote. When it came to those who identified as no party affiliation, which represented 4% of the overall voting population, all of it went to Harris. Harris won 100%. This is probably got to be one of the craziest exit polling I've ever seen. What is your take, Amy?
So, first of all, I just want to touch back to the 100% to Crusader from the Libertarians. Had I voted this election, it would have been partially for Beshear there, because while I do fully support and back MetalCrusader, this election just wasn't quite ready for the Libertarians. So I was going to back a more major party candidate, and then hold off for other elections when we could become stronger and bigger.
And so
we're actually on the board.
You said that, it's not the right time, but when is the right time for the Libertarian Party? Because clearly tonight was the right time.
Yeah, right. So we're breaking right now, not even 4%. I think in these midterms in 2 years, we're going to be able to get a higher percentage of the overall popular vote in the Senate and House and governor's elections. And we're going to just do a lot better than we've made some agreements with the Republicans, so we're going to do a bit of a coalition style thing.
So,
And
speaking of coalition here, I do want to ask because I think this might be something that might be interested to you, not only you but also to Leo. In other surveys, I've seen that like how for example, other parties nominate other candidates, and the candidate could be on many ballots for different parties. Like for example, the Democrats could be on the ballot for the Democratic Party, but they can also be nominated for the Working Families Party and stuff like that.
right,
Do
yeah.
you think that might be open to the idea of creating what's known as election fusion, where you fuse your party together, where you nominate the same candidate?
So
On
I
the
wouldn't go as far as to fuse our parties, but a fusion ticket is
on your
on
party,
the
you
table.
nominate
A fusion
candidate.
ticket is on the table.
What?
A fusion ticket is on the table. That is a possibility for the future.
I know that there was a coalition back in 2020 that was made by third parties that what's it called? Just say third party got a certain percentage of the vote, but it didn't get any electoral college votes. But just say the second third party got a little bit more of the popular vote. They themselves would co-join together to combine their popular vote together to hopefully win electoral vote, or same thing with the electoral college to be able to get them the edge that they need to be able to get the nomination or to win the presidency outright, whether that is in the House, the Senate, or the presidency. Do you see that as a viable pathway forward for the Libertarian Party? Speaking for both Lewis and Amy.
Yeah. So during presidential elections, we could hold a party-wide referendum of sorts to see who our party would rather nominate, unless we wanted our own candidate for that election. Between the Republicans and Democrats, more likely. And then we would run it as a fusion ticket and try to put a libertarian on the ticket as, the running mate of some sorts.
Right. Interesting. But the fusion ticket would essentially put their running mate on the ticket, not your running mate.
Okay, I can't really disclose. I can't really say much on it because it's an
still in the
agreement
works.
that, yeah, we made an
Okay.
agreement with the Republicans that I can't really quite disclose at the moment.
Well, you do need to disclose some information to both me and Leo privately because, well, first of all, we run this thing, and we also need to make sure that
Obviously, yeah, it's not going to be an issue.
Right. Okay. All right. So, just say it wasn't, but it's a good idea. But me and Leo never thought of it. At least suggest it to us and see what we think
Yeah,
about it. If it's
I'll send you a message after the election night's over here.
Right. Okay, then I appreciate that. Okay. So, what do you guys think about the results so far, and like how what's it called? Because I know Owen made his point. He already made his point very clear about what he thought about the toss-up states and the battlegrounds and how it's decided, and how you vote, and how sometimes battleground states don't always vote the same direction of the popular vote. When we look at the battleground states here, let's take a look at some of the battlegrounds. We have here Connecticut voted more to the left than the popular vote, the national popular vote. So Connecticut voted more to the left. Rhode Island voted consistently a little bit to the left, more than the national vote or the national environment. Delaware voted consistently the same thing. Illinois and New Jersey voted more to the right than the national vote. We have here New York voted a little bit more to the left than the national vote. We have Colorado voted a little bit more to the left than the national vote. And then we have here Maine voted overwhelmingly to the left. Maine's second congressional district voted overwhelmingly to the left. We have Oregon voted a little bit to the left. New Mexico voted very narrowly to the left. Virginia voted to the right of the nation. And then we have Minnesota was voted to the left by a little bit. What do you say to that? What do you say? Because it seems to be that the national environment for toss-up states don't always indicate, who's going to win, but it does show that if in a close election, some swing states could decide the election. It's decide the presidency. What are your thoughts on this new electoral model? I came up with this model. I did a combination of what Leo did back in 2028 with my combination for the swing states. What do you say to this? Do you like this setup?
Yeah, I think it's going to work pretty well in the future. It seems to accurately, simulate how an election would work. But I do want to interject here a thing. How all these states seeming to be voting so far to the left of the national environment.
Except some states.
I would say that's, you would think that with all these states voting so far left, Beshear would be getting so much more in the popular vote. But I think it's got to do with a lot of heavy third-party influence deterring away from Republicans, and it's causing the Democrats to get what would be normal margins. So they're getting about 51% of the popular vote, which would make sense in a normal election. But Republicans are getting such a low amount in the popular vote due to third-party splitting. So take, for example, let's go with 1968. Okay, George Wallace. No, that's not really a good example. Let's use 1992. Ross Perot was more conservative. So in a state like, let's say, Louisiana could have gone. Well, click on Louisiana for me.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Because Louisiana,
I'd like to see what the margin. I don't know if the margin was real big there.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, that's a perfect example. I think without Perot, Bush could have won Louisiana. So it's just the heavy third-party splitting. Like Clinton's getting pretty much what he would have gotten without Perot. Yeah. But Bush is losing out. So Democrats are getting normal margins, but Republicans are just losing out due to third parties.
Exactly. So what I could do is I could actually create an election map with the voter finish count in. I could actually take the map and say, okay, so if the Democrats are lower and just say this went to the Republicans, how much would this have shifted the race? If just say the Democrats are stuck around 51% of the vote and the other candidates go to the Republican, what would the map look like?
I don't know. I didn't quite catch that all the way, but I might be contradicting what you just said. Let me just say this real quick. It'd be nice to look at the exit polls. If all the Republicans that faltered for Harris or possibly MetalCrusader, if they all went for Stope, or all the Democrats that faltered for Stope or Harris or Crusader went to the Democrats, would that have made Democrats stronger, or would they have been weaker in this election?
Can you repeat that question?
Just completely remove third-party influence,
Well, I feel like if you were to completely remove the third party, I think, at some point there got to be some sort of voter fatigue. I definitely think that there will be some movement within the Forward Party and the Libertarian Party, which would have went to the Republican because, well, first of all, it's the Republican. But the problem with the Republicans, though, it's a far-right candidate. And then you put him up with just like Vice Presidential nominee Owen Haley. That's not really going to go well, especially the fact that he is related to Christina Haley. Then you have Beshear, who was more of a centrist candidate with a really good campaigner on his side as vice president, and that led to an additional victory turnout. And not to mention, he was also campaigning on behalf of Beshear as well. So it also, a culmination of things led to the victory of Beshear.
Right. I mean, normally on a regular day, I would have supported the Republican candidate. I was a Republican before this election, but in choosing Stope as the nominee, he's too far right. So I faltered and left the party, and I went to the Libertarians because they represent me a little more.
So I want to ask both of you.
But on a normal day, I would have voted for a Republican candidate.
Because you said you the Republican Party because of the far-right candidate. Well, what would it have made it became nominee? I want to talk to you and Amy, you and Mike. I want to hear Louis first. I want to see what his response is.
Could you just repeat the question though, real quick? You cut out a little bit.
I want to hear what your support is. I want to see whether or not you would support Lee Delton, and would you think that because he's not as far right as Stople.
Okay. And you're asking Louis and Maya first, I believe.
Yeah, Louis and Maya, are you here? I don't think he's here, so go ahead, Amy.
So, okay, Lee Zeldin is the nominee. Not as far right, but still just not quite popular among the Republican Party. Not quite not good speaking skills, for example, in text to speech kind of thing.
Well,
You know, no hate to him. He's a friend, but not quite likable and appealing to most voters.
I do have to make a projection here. I'm going to interject. We can now project that Andy Beshear has overshadowed former President Oliva's electoral college margin from 2024. He got 425 electoral votes. And so John Stople at just 98 electoral votes. We're still here from the state of Arizona and Alaska so far. It looks like if John Stople might not be able to get over that 98 electoral vote margin that he needs to be able to not become the new Barry Goldwater.
Yeah, this is looking out to be just as bad. You know, Barry Goldwater, 1964, he was very far right. He was, you know, all nuke happy with Vietnam. He was a racist. I mean, I don't think Stolp's racist or nuke happy, but far right candidate with far right ideologies.
Right.
Not likable to the American public.
Right. And I do want to mention as well, Leo Perda said that there was a large Democratic turnout. That was the main cause for the landslide. Yeah, I agree with that. However, when you look at the exit polling, you look at the exit polling data, and you start to compare it, 64% of all Democrats voted in this election. 67% of them went to Beshear. When you compare the popular vote, 51% of them only chose Andy Beshear.
Yeah.
So not all Democrats went to Andy Beshear, right?
True.
This election would have been a close election regardless, despite what TNN was telling people that, hey, listen, the election is actually pretty close.
It seems that lower turnout would have been better for Republicans this year.
Well, it would have, because according to the polling data, when there's lower turnout, among Democrats, the Republicans do better because Republicans had their party basically
Well, I mean, just lower turnout in general overall is better for Republicans.
Right. Right. And then Leo said Beshear would have won regardless. Yes, I agree with that. Beshear would have won, but he would have won by a narrow margin. But he wouldn't have won as many states as he did. It's like, if you look at the main ranked choice voting, more voted Beshear over Stople. So let's take a look at Maine. Let's see how Maine voted, like Maine overall, because I told Leo how to do Maine because we forgot to do like the Maine congressional district. I just said to average it out between the popular vote and the ranked choice voting vote, and then to kind of do from there. Maine, 58.1% chose Beshear, and 32.5% chose Stople. 7.2% chose forward. 2.2% chose libertarian. That's a net spread of 26 percentage points. And you want to show funny too when you look at the TNM margin here before like the recent polling data. You start to see on the high polling, people are like, oh, the polls are wrong. The polls are wrong. I don't think the polls are that wrong. I mean, really, you had a poll at the end was wrong. Definitely, by all means, was wrong. But we call states like Texas, Florida, Arizona, New Mexico blue. We said those states were going to go blue. We said though, this was the toss-up map. This was the map. This is what we're seeing right now. Was with the exception of Missouri, Iowa, Ohio, South Carolina, Kansas, for God's sake. You know what I mean? Like, we did not expect these states to go blue, and we didn't even think to even put what to call it. We didn't think to even put polling aggregates in there. Maybe next year in the next election cycle, maybe we might start doing a 50-state forecast. Again, we also had a very close election where it was caused so steadily the data wasn't being able to update to an accurate percentage point, so people just need to back off a little bit when it comes to the polling. We can now project that the Democrats are still at 211 House seats to 24 House seats for the Green Party and 144 House seats for the Republican Party. So that is currently where we're at right now in terms of the House Representative. The Senate has gone to the Democrats, and the gubernatorial races has gone to the Republican, where the Democrats have flipped 5 governor races, decreasing Republican hold in some of these states as well, but not enough to be able to win outright. We are waiting to hear from the state of Arizona and Alaska. We just got it. We can now project that Andy Beshear has won and flipped the state of Alaska. And
as
he
well
got
as
exactly 40 electoral votes. So let's see. Let's stick the margin here, because Yeah, because Leo, the electoral college map is off on your thing because this is the correct margin. It should be Beshear 439 to Stople 99 electoral vote, and it comes from New York. New York, you have here. Let's take a look at where New York is. Let's see. Let's go here. Where's New York? New York had 26. You overestimated an electoral vote in the state of New York by 1 electoral vote. Oh, your map is correct? Oh, okay. Never mind. Then maybe my map is incorrect. We have to fix that. Well, we have the same map. This is the map from the census. This is the census map. This is the map that we created. This is the map that I use. This is the same map that we created from for the 2030 census. But we can now project that Andy Beshear has 440 electoral votes to 98 electoral votes for John Stople, the Republican. John Stople is the worst performing Republican by far. Let's see, and let's take a look and see how he did compared to the popular vote from 2024. So actually, he did better than Skylar B. Bennett in the popular vote. Yeah, he did better than Skylar B. Bennett. He got more of the popular vote too, but he only got 34.2% of the popular vote for John Stople. That's crazy. This is bad for the Republican. This was like the nightmare performance. And I know it's still funny because Mark was talking about like how he would have saved the party. I don't know if he would have because of all the scandal that came out about him. I think it would have tanked his campaign regardless. What would you say
can
about
we
that?
can we pull up the 1964 election map just to see the sheer mass that this election had?
Let's see. Let me just move him for a second. I don't know where Lewis is. I don't know if he's still on. He might just be listening. 1964, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's here. So we're looking at right now, Lewis. We are looking at the 1964 election map with Lyndon B. Johnson, Barry Goldwater. Barry Goldwater got only 52. Go ahead and
he
then
did perform better electorally than Goldwater, but percentage of the popular vote, he did worse than Goldwater.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Obviously, population changes happened, but percentage-wise, he did worse.
You want to crazy when you look at the popular vote margin for Lyndon B. Johnson, he got 61.1% of the vote. But you look at the vote here, only Andy Beshear only got 51% of the vote here.
Yeah, so I think that'll be due to third-party splitting.
Yeah, absolutely. But when you look at 2024, the president only got 400 electoral votes, but got 67.1% of the popular vote. He had the highest popular vote margin out of any U.S. president who ever ran for president of the United States.
Right.
He's still going to have that title.
It all would have just come down to the voting system at the time.
What did you say?
It all would have just come down to the voting system at the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was consistent time in which it was me. I know a lot of people already are like saying, oh, I'm not going to vote for you because you already served 2 terms. But like, technically, I'd be a new president. I wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, right. We're going, 32 years in the past before you even begun to run. Whenever I think I'm actually going to change on January 1st, I'm going to change characters to Lois Griffin just because I feel that that's going to be funny.
Right, because you need to build up what you call it, that recognition. You need to be able to create that identity thing.
Yeah. Well, then I'll have like 6 months or so until. Well, I suppose I'll have more like 3 to build up an identity back to the midterms. But yeah, I'm going to change to Lois Griffin, and then at the reset, she'll be 30 at the time. So that's pretty well. That's of age for plenty of positions. She won't be able to run for president quite yet, but.
Right. And I do want to interject here. We can now project that the Democrats have won the House of Representatives with 244 House seats, with 28 House seats for the Green Party, and 163 House seats for the Republican.
I mean, that's really big of a flip compared to what the Republicans had just 2 years ago.
I know. And you want to send out this exact margin that the Democrats had too. Except Republicans, but this is the exact margin the Democrats had.
I mean, just wow, though. And then the Greens getting 28 seats, and I believe they caucus with Democrats, so that's an extra. So what? That's 272 for Democrats altogether.
So it's not as big as what happened under my midterm, but this is still a good performance. It's just like
Right.
Andy
That's
Beshear.
that's a massive. That's plenty enough, to pass legislation.
Right. So now what we got to do is now we have a new Speaker of the House. The question is now the Democrats are going to have to go in and find out who's going to be the next Speaker of the House.
60 seats. I believe the largest pickup other than that for a party in one election would have been in real life in 2010, the Tea Party Revolution. Republicans picked up, I think, 63 seats.
Right. Yeah. Leo said the Democrats in this election flipped 60 House seats.
Yeah, 60.
So this is definitely a blue wave by all means because not only did they
this is a blue tsunami.
Yes, oh, absolutely. Not only did they sweep the House, they also swept the Senate, all Senate seats. They also swept the governor races there.
Well, question: what does the full Senate map look like? I know it'll be just a few seat gain, more few seats.
Because me and Leo, we set it. So the way it's gonna work as regions. So 5 seats are gonna be up every cycle.
Okay.
And basically, as time goes on, it's gonna make into the full map. But right now, we don't have the map, so that's how that's gonna work. But it's gonna reset back in 2000. So in the midterm, we're gonna have our last region, which is gonna be the Mid-Atlantic region. I'm gonna see if I can convince Leo to let me do 10 states just to kind of get a bigger map.
Right, allow them for more people to run.
Yeah, more people to run and stuff like that. And it's going to be a midterm, so it's going to have to be a little bigger. I did 10 states before. I can do it again. That's not going to be an issue. But it's up to Leo. I know Leo wanted me to only just do 1 state. We'll see what Leo says. I'll talk to him privately and see what he wants. But I'm going to do the Liberty state, and that's going to be the off-year election. And then we'll kick into gear for the Senate. And the House will be, obviously, 438 House seats. That's always something that's never going to change. But it's just going to be the Senate and the House. I mean, the Senate and the governor's races that's going to be changing in terms of regions.
I'm going to say in the midterms, it's going to be a big flip back to the red, I'm going to say, in the House anyway.
I don't know how Andy Beshear. I mean, he said he's going to be busy, so we might just have an inactive governor again. But accordingly to how, Higgins, his approval rating is even, right? His approval rating is even. But despite him being inactive, the Democrats won by the biggest margin possible. So theoretically, maybe being active isn't all bad.
Where was I going to say that? Yeah, I think it's in the midterms. It's going to be a flip back to conservative leadership in the House, possibly the Senate as well. Due to the fact now Shamrock is back in the Republican Party, and he's very competent, and he knows how to run a campaign and a party, and he knows how to plan strategies out in his head. He prepares for just about every possible outcome.
Right.
So, again, I've spoken to him, and we've made agreements, and Libertarians are going to be gaining House seats in the midterm.
But here's the thing I am going to put this out here, though. Shamrock, there's some things that were not acceptable in the server, and we will have to deal with them. I hope he does know that he's not going to go off and think that he's going to get a slap on the wrist and that everything that he did was just going to be reverted and we're all going to turn a blind eye. He is not going to be turning a blind eye. There will be punishment for what has happened, but there will be a different form of punishment that makes any sense. Because we cannot allow this behavior to continue on the server, because it's going to make it an unfair situation for, let's say you want to run, it's happening and killing your party. It's not fair to you guys. You get where we're getting at?
Right.
So me and Leo are going to come up with an idea. We're going to run it through the staff team. If the staff team approved it, we're going to go ahead with the program. But I don't want him thinking he's going to get away scot-free, because he's by all means not. But attacking staff members, saying it's rigged, watching the vote count, blackmailing people. What's it called? He was looking at the voter confirmation and counting votes and telling people that they shouldn't have voted or they should have voted this way. All those behaviors are not going to be tolerated since he's back. So I just want to make sure that if he were to do those things,
I
I'll
forgot
talk to
just how
What?
massive of the things he did. Sorry to laugh, but man, Shamrock, you did a lot of stuff, didn't you?
And he also over and he kept making fun of me and Leo for everything. And we get that he's in an emotional state, but
Oh,
I'm gonna talk to Leo and see what we're gonna do because I do feel like at certain times, he was in a high hormonal situation because he is a teenager nonetheless. He's gonna act
right.
irrationally. He's not thinking first, so we might time
Oh,
him out. And I'll talk to Leo maybe if that type of behavior continues, we'll time him for a week if we need to. But again, I'll have to talk to Leo first. We'll come up with a solution, but we want to make sure that this is going to be a fair race and that we are able to match and simulate the election in a way that you would actually expect it to actually go in real life.
right. Yeah. Again, I don't mean to laugh. It's just a little funny to me the way that he really shot himself in the foot there. I'm gonna have to send him a message after this.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I don't gotta hand
Yeah.
it to him though. He does a pretty good job, but today I was afraid that he was gonna start cursing or saying some things on
No,
live stream.
he flipped
He's
himself
very proud.
pretty
You
good.
gotta hand him
He
But
flipped himself well, I would say.
right. So
Yeah, I'm
anyway,
gonna have to
uh,
send him a that's kind
we are going to do an election analysis video. I'm gonna see if I can get a group of us. We're gonna do like a watch party, but it's not like really a watch party. It'll be like a pre-recorded video. We'll all talk and chat, and then we just do we talk about the analysis, our thoughts on the election, and kind of see what the hell happened, and kind of give
right.
our opinions. So the candidates who go into 2000 can see and understand what the hell happened over the the 16 years of election that we did on the Stoble, what happened and what can they learn from it, and how can third parties gain momentum? How can Republican reverse the mistakes that they made when it comes to rigging and alt and bots and all those things? What can they do differently to make sure that doesn't happen again? The far right candidates. Every time a far right candidate for the Republican Party has won, they have not won any election
Yeah.
ever. So that has to also be an idea, a new progressive change, a new shift. I know that MetalCrusader is going to be one of those guys who, if he actually put in the work, he would actually do quite well in the Libertarian Party and actually win a lot of electoral votes if he actually put in the work. And he is. I got to hand it him. He's been campaigning. He's been
Metal
active.
he was chair of the Libertarian Party and he willingly stepped down because he says I'm not quite that active. We need more active leadership. So he put me in charge, made me vice chair, then resigned, and then there I was, and then I put Louis Amaya as my vice chair. We're going to try to have as much active leadership as possible and make the party as large as we can.
And so what happens if the state of Republicans backstab you? What would you do then?
Well, that'd be a predicament,
Exactly.
I suppose.
You didn't take that into consideration.
Yeah, okay. I'll think about that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Leo said we're only going to do 5 states. So I guess on the off-year election, I will do what to call it. I would do the Liberty region, and then for the midterms, I guess I'm doing the mid-Atlantic states. Then that's fine. I can do that. That's not an issue. So that's what we're going to do then. So we'll do an election analysis video. Would you like to be a part of it?
Depends on when.
Well, it doesn't matter. Well, it's pre-recorded, so it doesn't have to go live. It just has to be a group of us just talk about the data and results, and we just sit here and just talk and just laugh and interact. I think Louis, would you like that too?
Either way, it'll have to be on a weekend of some sort, or else I won't be able to attend.
Yeah, that's fine. We could do it on a weekend. I don't care.
All right, sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think Leo will also like it. Leo doesn't have to actually join the actual audio part, but I will have him join the comment section, and he can comment, and I can repeat what he's saying for us, so Leo can be a part of it too.
Real quick, can you go back to the 2024 election here?
Wait, hold on. The 24 election in real life or in
the
this
server.
one?
Yeah. So okay, never mind. I just wanted to check and see what the popular vote margin was there.
It was
106 million. It's pretty crazy.
67 amount out of any president except for Washington.
Yeah, raw vote is what I was looking at there.
Yeah, the raw vote total was 106 million.
Yeah.
Skylar B got 52 million. And John Stople only got 58 million. What did
Yeah,
Lisa Maya get?
I mean, Beshear overperformed someone like Biden did. He got 81 million, but
Yeah.
it's
You
hard to
actually have-
overperform 106 million, isn't it?
Right. But in this election here, back in 2028, only 160 million voted. In 2024, 158 million voted. In 2032, 170.5 million voted. So more people
Yeah.
voted in this election prior. What was so interesting too is to see the uncanniness of how the election from this election cycle from 2028 had the same exact turnout numbers, the same exact numbers. 52 people voted in this election cycle, and it's the exact same turnout, except the difference is Andy Beshear blew away Rainbow Dash and electoral count margin, but underperformed heavily in almost every single state, and also underperformed not only in the popular vote as well, also underperformed in the popular vote.
There's one more thing I'd like to look at. Can you go to the real life 2024 election for me?
Yeah. That's gonna
Sure.
change. So
Just want to check
we'll take a
something.
look. Okay.
Okay, scroll down to where it has every single candidate listed and their percentage of the popular vote.
There you go.
Not just Trump and Harris, like all of them, every extended candidate. Try to find that for me.
How the hell do I do that?
Go to third party and independent candidates, I think. Oh no, results. You see on the left side there, it says results. All the way over on the left there, yeah, it'll say result. There you go. So I just want to see how many votes Chase Oliver got. You see, he only got 650,000. You take a look at the server's 2032 election.
We got 6.2
it was multiplied by nearly 10 for the Libertarians.
Right.
That's quite a showing.
Then for Jill Stein, the Green Party got 0, but they did phenomenal in the House, so we got to hand it to them there. But then,
I mean, realistically, they did insane. I don't even know how that happened. Green Party is pretty well non-existent in the server. I don't even know anybody in the Green Party in the server.
I didn't even vote Green Party. I don't know who the hell voted Green Party. I voted Reform for the House, but I was just curious to see. You know what? I know it's going to go Democrat anyway. Let's just vote, Forward Party. But Forward Party didn't get any seats.
Yeah, you'd think it's really interesting, isn't it? Who was voting Green to get them 28 seats?
Is that I broke up the regions in the House seats, and I broke it up into 5 states. These are all the electoral college in these House seats, minus a certain amount from each one, and that would be the House vote. That would be the House tally, and what to call it. And what he did was I told him instead of doing it proportionally, take the vote count total, the national vote of those who vote in the House vote, and proportional it to the amount of seats in that region, and then do it that way. Because that is how the House of Representatives really go. Not by the national vote, but it goes by the regional vote.
I mean, it just baffles me how the Greens got anywhere, to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Leo voted Green. So Leo just seems like the type of guy who would vote Green.
But,
you want to know something?
Well, we can look at that in the analysis video.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. We'll have to have Leo a party because Leo's gonna love this. I know that what's really good and what's really astounding is the third party who never voted, who never.
Are you
ran
speaking right now? I cannot hear you.
Yeah. We have the forward party. Can you hear me now? Oh, Leo voted Republican. And he expected a red wave. I expected a red wave towards the end, but this was definitely a shock. But the server was definitely not a shock. The server was voting and saying that, oh, they believe that Andy Beshear was going to win. And Leo felt bad because they never wanted a presidency, ever. I actually didn't vote Democrat down ballot. I actually voted third party and all other things. And I was just like mind blown at the results. Really. Crazy. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, Leo, this is just crazy, crazy stuff. I mean, even I didn't expect the results to turn out quite like this. So this is the results. So I don't know what to say. I mean, Leo, I think we're definitely gonna have to do an analysis video. What to call it? So you let me know if you want to do an analysis video, and then we'll end this video today. But I think I would like to have you included. You don't have to join the actual live stream. You can just do. I just have to invite you though, but you will just stay in the background. And you could just comment, and I will just repeat what you're commenting. But I think that you will be a crucial part in that because you saw the results and you saw it get calculated over time, and I think your perspective would be very important for us to be able to understand. So yeah, perfect. So let's do that. Let's see that. It depends when and what time. It's going to be pre-recorded. It's not going to be live. We'll post it later on our analysis video on what happened over the past four presidential elections, and we analyze it so that the people who are running 2000 they know the victim mistakes of the past and what can a Republican do differently and what can the independents and third party do and can they expand upon Kamala Harris's victory tonight. She got 11.1% of the vote. That's pretty good. That's the best performance we saw since 2020. So that's how we'll do that. We'll just talk about all that analysis. Lewis, is there anything else you'd like to say? Good. I'm glad you'll be able to join Leo. Anything else you'd like to say, Lewis, before we end?
Thank you for thank you to everyone who voted in this election and of course we vote for the Koreans in the future.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of this. I want to thank everybody for being a part of our simulation. And thank you, Leo, for hosting and doing this election cycle. We want you to know that we all appreciate you. We love you. And then we want to say that we support all the hard work you do on the channel. And we're in this together. Thank you. Have a good night. And thank you, Leo.